Ling Jie's heart is heavy, and Yun Qi's profound strength is gone. A reunion in Demon Imperial City stirs old dreams and new dangers. Leave a like and subscribe to walk this path. Ling Jie to his feet. In fact, he was not the least bit surprised by his actions, because he knew very well that the affair concerning Chu Yuechan had always weighed very heavily on Ling Jie's heart and head, even though he had done nothing wrong. But this was simply a part of his temperament, and it was also the part of Ling Jie that Yun Qi admired the most. Mother, Yun Wuxin, who was not accustomed to coming into contact with outsiders, hid behind Chu Yuechan unconsciously as she gazed at her in confusion. Chu Yuechan's reaction was extremely calm and mild. "You do not need to do this. None of this has anything to do with you, and it was not even your fault." "No," Ling Jie shook his head, his voice hoarse and solemn. "As that person's son, I naturally must atone on for my mother's sins. All those years ago, because my mother's jealousy had turned to hatred. She did something to you that would be hard to ever forgive, but fortunately, the heavens took pity on you, and you ended up safe and sound. If not. When he reached this point, he was so choked up with emotion that he found it hard to continue. He was already no longer the Ling Jie of the past, the Ling Jie that was rather naive and immature. Now he was the renowned blue-wind sword saint who was famed for his martial prowess. But at this moment, tears were pouring from his eyes like rain, and he could not stop them from flowing. After Yun Qi had defeated Chu Yuechan all those years ago, he had slaughtered the two great sacred grounds, the Sun-Moon Divine Hall and the mighty Heavenly Sword region, and that could only be called a cruel and merciless move. Yet he had let Chu Yuechan off the hook, a person that he had hated in the extreme. Ling Jie understood why he had done so, because she was his mother. So to Ling Jie, Yun Qi had done him an extremely large favor and had showed him an extreme amount of affection and comradeship. But at this some time, it had also become a heavy burden that he had found hard to put down. As a result, he left the Heavenly Sword Villa and traveled all across the land with just his sword as his companion in hopes that he could find Chu Yuechan, whose status was still unknown, even though he had not found Chu Yuechan himself. But upon seeing her safe and sound with his own eyes, upon seeing her with Yun Qi, he could finally put down that heavy burden and that considerable amount of guilt. "Xiao Jie," Yun Qi said with furrowed brows, "did you just say your late mother?" Ling Jie closed his eyes and spoke in a gentle voice. "All those years ago, after the mighty Heavenly Sword region was destroyed, my mother's temperament and personality underwent a great change, and she was racked by nightmares every night. On a night 2 years ago, she returned to the place where the mighty Heavenly Sword region used to be, the place where she had met my father, and there, she committed suicide." Ling Jie spoke these words with much difficulty. Yun Qi's chest rose and fell, and he let out a sigh. "Even though my mother is gone, her sins remain. So as her son, I naturally need to atone for them." When those words rang in Yun Qi's ear, it made him feel a sudden sense of unease as he anxiously said, "Xiao Jie, you?" But how could the current him stop Ling Jie right now? The celestial yang sword beneath his feet flew up as a beam of rainbow light flashed upwards. As the sword beam sliced through the air, it cut off the middle and ring finger off of Ling Jie's left hand, sending them flying into the distance. "Ah!" Feng Zioner and Yun Wuxin let out cries of alarm in unison. Chu Yuechan turned her snowy mien away from the grisly scene as she let out a soft sigh. "The sin was not yours. Why did you have to do this?" "Xiao Jie, what you've?" As he saw the severed fingers fly far into the distance as they were carried along by the wind, Yun Qi shook his head. For a profound practitioner who has spent his entire life cultivating the way of the sword, what did the loss of 2 fingers represent? It was self-evident. After severing 2 of his fingers, what appeared on Ling Jie's face was not pain but relief. It was as if he had been released from a heavy responsibility. What he had severed was not only been his 2 fingers, he had also severed the chains that he had wrapped around his heart and soul for all these years. Ling Jie was undoubtedly someone who regarded friendship and brotherhood extremely seriously. He thought back to when he and Yun Qi had first met. At that time, he was the second young master of the Heavenly Sword Villa, and Yun Qi was only some unknown disciple from the profound palace. But after the bet they made over 3 sword strikes in the Blue Wind Imperial Palace, he had lost to Yun Qi, and even though he had lost because of Yun Qi's scheme, he still accepted his loss wholeheartedly, and he was willing to be Yun Qi's little brother despite being the second young master of the Heavenly Sword Villa. From that day till this day, no matter how many great waves he had experienced in his life, He had never once changed. Even though Xuanyuan Yufeng was a wicked woman, but in Ling Jie's world she was his birth mother, the mother who had birthed him and raised him, who had loved and cherished him without limit. So he also wanted to use his own life to protect her, and he would be willing to atone for her sins no matter the cost. Yuechan, Yun Qi said, concerning Xuanyuan Yufeng, I don't hate her anymore. Without waiting for Yun Qi to finish, Chu Yuechan spoke in a soft and distant voice. I have even forgotten how she looks like since long ago. Those soft words that came from her lips caused Ling Jie, who was doing his best to hold back his tears, to tremble all over as tears once more flowed from his eyes. Fine, then I'll forgive her as well, Yun Qi said with a faint laugh. After that, he gave Ling Jie a sincere gaze as he said, even though she nearly cost me little fairy, but in the end they were both safe and sound. Besides, if not for your mother, I would be short one good brother in this lifetime, so let's just call it even right here and now. The words spoken by these two people, especially the words that had come from Chu Yuechan's own mouth, were undoubtedly the warmest and gentlest salvation for Ling Jie's heart and soul. His heart was filled with emotion, and for a moment he found it hard to speak, and he even attempted to kowtow once more. All right, what are you waiting for? Hurry up and get up. Yun Qi moved forward and hauled him up with great force. Right now, my little fairy is your sister-in-law, not your senior. Why do you keep on trying to kowtow? Ling Jie, Mom, what is a broom? Yun Wuxin asked in a small voice. Chu Yuechan, also. Yun Qi said with an indignant expression, you happily severed your fingers in front of me, but can you at least warn me beforehand next time? You scared my daughter, don't you know? What are you waiting for? How come you haven't stood up yet? Eh? Ling Jie was instantly rendered dumbstruck by Yun Qi's words, your daughter. Qi Wuxin, Yun Qi's face grew stiff, and he assumed the mighty and stern figure of a father. This is your uncle Ling Jie. His act of severing his own fingers was an extremely wrong one. You definitely mustn't learn it from him. Yun Wuxin's lips parted, and half of her body was still hidden behind Chu Yuechan. After that she softly called out, Uncle Ling Jie. As he looked at Yun Wuxin, Ling Jie's mouth gaped open. She is your daughter. That's right, Yun Qi nodded his head. As Ling Jie stammered badly, he hurriedly stood to his feet, and at the same time, he swiftly used his profound energy to seal the blood flowing from his severed fingers. The entire Blue Wind had known about Chu Yuechan's pregnancy all those years ago, but that matter had already been more than a decade ago. Ling Jie had long ago noticed Yun Wuxin, but he basically had not even thought that this girl, who looked just a little over 10 years of age, would actually be Yun Qi's daughter. He flustered, patted his entire body, and rummaged through his spatial ring, but he could not find anything suitable or decent. But after that, he steeled his heart and took off the piece of precious jade that had always hung on his chest before he bent his waist towards Yun Wuxin and said, I had never imagined that boss would actually have a daughter, and that she'd be this big already. You're called Wuxin, right? What a lovely name. Uncle didn't bring anything decent for you, so I am giving you this as my greeting gift to Wuxin. As he glanced at the precious jade in Ling Jie's hand, the corner of Yun Qi's mouth faintly twitched. That was clearly the young Villa Master's medallion that belonged to the Heavenly Sword Villa. With this medallion, Yun Wuxin could go wherever she pleased when she visited the Heavenly Sword Villa, even though she could already do whatever she wanted even without this medallion. Yun Wuxin's body shrank back slightly before she asked in a soft voice, Mom, can I keep this? Chu Yuechan gave a small smile as she nodded her head. Since this is the greeting gift that Uncle Ling Jie gave to you, then you can keep it. It was only after she heard this that Yun Wuxin extended her hand to take it. The precious jade in her hand radiated a strange light she had never seen before. Her eyebrows immediately arced up in delight as she let out an elated laugh. It's so beautiful. Thank you, Uncle Ling Jie. It was as if she was still not too sure about that form of address because her words had ended with a hint of doubt. There's no need to thank me, no need to thank me at all. It's what I should do. Ling Jie hurriedly waved his hands before speaking to Yun Qi. She is indeed the boss's daughter. She truly is a charming and winsome child. If he knew that this little girl, who was only 11 years of age, had an even higher level of cultivation in the profound way than he had, he would probably be so shocked that he'd sink to his knees again. Yun Qi grabbed Ling Jie's hand and looked at his severed fingers before giving a soft sigh. Zio Jie, from now on, you're not allowed to speak a single word regarding the subject of atonement or redemption ever again. All right. Ling Jie nodded cheerfully as his eyes flashed with a bright and cheery light. His eyes were brighter than they had ever been at any point of time during the past few years. Boss is your profound strength, really. he asked, as he still could not quite believe it was true. Yun Jie nodded with a faint smile on his face. But it doesn't matter anymore, at least I'm still alive and well. Moreover, even if I don't have my profound strength anymore, it'll still be fine. Have you never thought of who the women around me are? After he suddenly felt Chu Yuechan's gaze settle on him, Yun Qi's voice suddenly halted as he swiftly changed the subject. I have the most powerful people in this world at my side, so who can harm me? Being completely crippled in the profound way was undoubtedly the most cruel blow to any profound practitioner. The stronger one was in the profound way, the more cruel a blow it would be. But upon seeing Yun Qi's present state, Ling Jie sighed emotionally in his heart as he spoke with a heartfelt sincerity. As expected of you, no matter whether it is my grandfather or Xun Yuan in this world, there is truly nothing that can knock you down. Yun Jie laughed as he shook his head. So have you been traveling the world all these years? Ling Jie's expression was resolute. Now that we are no longer supported by the mighty Heavenly Sword region, the Heavenly Sword Villa has, on the contrary, attained true freedom. During those years, the Heavenly Sword Villa made one big mistake after the other, and our name and prestige has fallen to the very bottom. Using my sword, I will rebuild the trust and former glory of the Heavenly Sword Villa. Yun Jie patted him on the shoulder. If it's you, then you can definitely do it. From now on, I should be residing mainly in the illusory demon realm's demon imperial city. If you ever pass by, don't forget to come and find me so that I can personally witness your growth. It's a deal, Ling Jie said with a heavy nod of his head. The two people said their goodbyes and Ling Jie left into the distance. The blue-winged sword saint who had severed 2 fingers but had also released the heavy burden in his heart. His future growth would undoubtedly be even more eye-catching than before. Chu Yuechan said, Ling Yun is a gentleman in the way of the sword, he has an elegant and graceful demeanor, and he is mighty without being arrogant. Ling Jie's talent surpasses that of his older brother, and he is a man who values friendship so heavily. The Heavenly Sword Villa may have lost its great support, but it has produced 2 outstanding successors. Yun Jie gave a deep and knowing nod of his head. Even though their father, Ling Yuefeng, was selfish and biased, and regarded the interests of the Heavenly Sword Villa above the danger that threatened the Blue Wind Nation. But other than that, everything he has done in his life is worthy of being called righteous and gentlemanly. As for their mother, Xun Yuefeng, as the daughter of an elder of the mighty Heavenly Sword region, she did not hesitate to leave her father and her sect because she was smitten with Ling Yuefeng, and even followed Ling Yuefeng back to that tiny Heavenly Sword Villa. Even though she was well aware that it was very likely that Ling Yuefeng wanted to use her to ascend to the higher branch that was the mighty Heavenly Sword region. She did not leave or abandon him for several decades, and she had no resentment or regret in her heart for leaving with him. So it's really not strange at all that they have nurtured such outstanding successors. It's just that, Yun Jie shook his head, the more smitten Ling Yuefeng was with you, the more Xun Yuefeng would hate and envy you. No matter how good a woman is, once she falls into the abyss of jealousy and hatred, she will become a dreadful devil. Chu Yuechan turned her gaze towards him. So what you're saying is that I was the one who forced Xun Yuefeng to become a villain? Yun Jie waved his hands the fastest he ever had in his entire life. No, that's definitely not what I'm saying. I'm saying that, your charm is simply far too great, so any man know that's not right. Right, Wuxin? Yun Jie grabbed his daughter's hand and pointed in front of him. In front of us is a piece of stone that I, your father, personally touched all those years ago. Let me bring you to go and see it. Yun Wuxin, As she looked at Yun Jie run as if he was fleeing while holding his daughter's hand, the corner of Chu Yuechan's lips moved slightly and a faint, dreamy haziness appeared in her eyes. She had originally thought that a cold life void of desire, the life all who were disciples of frozen Cloud Asgard, would be her entire life. But after she had spent those 6 months stuck together with Yun Jie, upon returning, she discovered that she no longer had her heart of ice, and that she now had desire in her heart. She did her best to suppress that desire, but it was only upon receiving news of Yun Jie's death that she truly discovered that the desires in her heart had already grown so strong that she was willing to desert her sect for his sake. But today, she had him and their daughter at her side. This was truly life, a truly complete life, no matter where she ended up in the future. Behind them, Feng Ziner quietly looked at the family of 3, and she was not willing to make a single sound to disturb them. Flowers bloomed already. It was a very young and tender voice, but even though it sounded so young, this voice was unfathomably ethereal. And when one heard it, it was as if a stream of the purest spring water flowed into one's heart. Spring water so pure that it was enough to quietly cleanse all of the filth and wickedness inside of it. They've already bloomed. Xianxia gently turned around in the center of a sea of purple flowers. The sea of flowers was dazzlingly beautiful, but it was not an even fraction of her celestial and sacred beauty. That's simply too awesome. I want to see, the tender voice shouted excitedly. All right, Xianxia gave a light wave of her snowy hand, and a cluster of white light gently swept over her lower abdomen. Wah! It's so beautiful, the tender voice crowed with delight, but I want to see it with my own eyes. Xianxia gave a faint smile as she shook her head. Not yet. When exactly will I be born? 9 years, she gently replied. These 9 years will be very short, and they will pass in the blink of an eye. But I feel that it's really long. I really want to be born sooner. I want to see the spirit hibiscus flowers with my own 2 eyes. I want to see what mother looks like with my own 2 eyes. Xianxia stroked her stomach, her warm and gentle voice laced with remorse. Mother promises you. After these 9 years, I will bring you to every corner of this universe, and we will go see whatever that you want to see, okay? MNNNN, hee. The young and tender voice grew happy again. Mother, don't worry, I'll be obedient. That's right, Mother. The young and tender voice's tone changed. Among the knowledge that you have imparted to me, there is a part of it that mentions that every living being will not only have a mother, but a father too. Furthermore, the father and mother will be together forever. However, why is mother all alone by herself? Could it be that I don't have a father? Xianxia shook her head. Of course not, your life was given to you by your father. Then why isn't father at mother's side? Could it be that thing known as abandonment? Your father did not abandon your mother, and it is even more impossible that he will abandon you, Xianxia said in the gentlest of tones. It's just that he had to go to a rather distant place in order to accomplish an important job. Once you are born, mother will bring you to see him. Then, what does father look like? Will he be just as gentle and just as good-looking? Xianxia gave a small laugh. That's something you will need to see with your own eyes and your own heart and soul. Woo! The young and tender voice grew small and quiet. Even though I should be obediently listening to what mother has said, I still really want to be born soon. The guest has arrived. Mother will speak to you later. Xianxia got up, and with a wave of her snowy hand, a layer of fantastical white light covered her body, hiding her figure, her looks, and all of her aura. Before too long, the dragon monarch descended from the sky. Upon seeing Xianxia, his dragon eyes revealed a soft gentleness that would not be present at any other time, but his expression was still solemn and serious. It looks like that matter with the evil infant is not going well, Xianxia said frankly. We've already managed to find some traces of where she went. The dragon monarch gave a short sigh as he spoke. She escaped into the God realm of absolute beginning. The world within the God realm of absolute beginning is incomparably vast. It is even more vast than the entire God realm. Furthermore, there are countless fierce primordial beasts living in there, and its aura is heavy and impure, Xianxia said calmly. So the most dangerous place would actually be the place most suited to her needs. That is indeed true, the dragon monarch said with knitted brows. During this period of time, we were the most worried about her escaping into the God realm of absolute beginning. Because of that, we had set up traps and ambushes around and in the starting area of the God realm of absolute beginning. But who would have thought? Sigh. The heavenly slaughter star god's ability to conceal herself can be said to be unrivaled under heaven. This isn't strange at all, Xianxia said, but her crescent brows twitched at the same time. To be able to even perfectly conceal the dark aura emitted by the evil infant wheel of myriad tribulations, had she truly mastered it? From the last few accounts, the dragon monarch had given her, the possibility that the evil infant wheel of myriad tribulation had actually recognized Jasmine as its master, and had not hijacked her body, was growing larger and larger in her mind. The longer it takes, the more she will recover, and the larger the threat will be. However, for her to escape into the God realm of absolute beginning isn't a completely bad thing. Even though encircling and eliminating her will be extremely difficult, the God realm of absolute beginning is teeming with danger. How many divine masters have fallen in that place? There is no way that she will be able to attain any measure of safety and security in that place. In fact, it might just end up with her falling beneath the claws of those fierce primordial beasts without us needing to lift a single finger. Xianxia, there is also another situation that is rather suspicious. The dragon monarch continued speaking. After Ling Jie disappeared, we lost all contact with him, and according to the star gods that were by his side at the time when he disappeared, he had suffered severe injuries. His profound strength was severely wounded, and he was not even at half of his usual strength. Given his state, finding him should have been incredibly easy, but all the star gods have been searching for him for 2 months, yet they have found neither hide nor hair. However, the heavenly wolf star god who had also disappeared was said to have appeared in the god realm of absolute beginning as well. Furthermore, it was said that she had appeared in its depths. How about the moon god realm? Xianxia asked. The current moon god realm could be said to be in a huge mess, the dragon monarch said. I did not head over there, but I heard that before Yue Wuya died, he transferred his throne to that foster daughter of his, Xia Qingyu, and that decision was met with the objection of the entire moon god realm. Xia Qingyu is from another line and clan. Furthermore, she is only a little girl who hasn't even reached 30 years of age. The dragon monarch shook his head as he said, Yue Wuya's actions are truly hard to understand. Yue Wuya poured 10,000 years of painstaking effort into his realm. So in his eyes, the future of moon god realm is definitely more important than anything else. His choice will not be a wrong one, Xianxia said gently as a strange light flashed in her beautiful eyes. The whole realm had objected to this decision and had been thrown into great chaos. So was this not the best time for Xia Qingyu to establish her authority? It was now up to Xia Qingyu to make the right decisions. If she truly had the determination to be the moon god emperor, then she would let go of all of her hesitation, compassion, and pity. The dragon eyes of the dragon monarch turned towards her and he gave a faint nod of his head. Since you have said such a thing, then it definitely can't be wrong. The current Eastern Divine region is going through some troubled times right now. I hope it will all be settled sooner rather than later, Xianxia said softly before she turned around. Since you finished what you had to say, you may go. The dragon monarch stretched out a hand and opened his mouth. He wanted to ask Xianxia to withdraw her shroud of light profound energy because even though he came here often, it had been a very long time since he had last seen her true appearance. But as he faced a back so sacred and holy that it could dim everything else, this supreme ruler of the primal chaos did not dare to open his mouth in the end. He simply gave a faint nod of his head before swiftly flying away. Even though he came very often, he only stayed for a very short period of time. Because he knew that Xianxia liked her peace and quiet, and he did not dare disturb her too much because of this. Just being able to see her every now and then? Even though the only thing he saw was a figure shrouded by hazy white light, his heart was already satisfied. After the dragon monarch left, a tender voice once again rang in Xianxia's heart. Mother, mother, who is that person? Xianxia said in a soft and gentle voice. He is Mother's junior, a clansman that we have to protect and take care of. Clansman? Once you've grown up, you will naturally understand. She looked into the distance, and the world around her was a sea of fantastically beautiful flowers. But the only thing reflected in her eyes was an expanse of hazy whiteness. No one knew nor could anyone understand what she was thinking about. Blue Pole Star, Profound Sky Continent, Blue Wind Imperial City. Even though they were accompanied by 2 thrones in order to take care of Xianxia's frail body, their traveling speed was extremely slow. Their speed was made even slower due to the endless questions Yuechan would pepper them with at every stop. But after 10 days, they finally managed to make it to the Blue Wind Imperial City. Kang Yue was the one who had brought him to the Imperial City all those years ago, and as image after image from the past flashed through his mind, his heart surged with myriad emotions. Meanwhile, Yuechan's extremely long cry of astonishment rang in his ears. As an imperial city, Blue Wind Imperial City could be said to be extremely small. It was not even a tenth the size of the divine Phoenix City. In Yuechan's world, however, these buildings were majestically beautiful and grand. The fact that she could not see to the end of the city in a single glance greatly shook her heart and soul. Xianxia did not choose to enter from the main gate. He was the greatest pride and savior of Blue Wind Nation, an existence that was tantamount to a god in this nation. If he suddenly made a public appearance after having left for so long, it would definitely cause a huge sensation. They flew through the air and directly entered the central palace. Even though there were many guards protecting the imperial palace, and the security was very tight, with Feng Zioner and Yuechan, it was all too easy to avoid and get past them. When they had arrived in the air right above the center of the imperial city, the Blue Wind Imperial Palace, and the bedchambers that belonged to him and Kang Yue appeared in his eyes, and his heart started to throb even more restlessly. King Yu was the first person to be married to you, but Empress Kang Yue is your proper wife, correct? Chu Yuechan said in a wispy and ethereal voice as she looked at him. Xianxia involuntarily nodded her head before his head whipped towards her with lightning speed. That is? Go and see her. Chu Yuechan's words were soft and gentle. Back in Heavenly Sword Villa, I could already tell that her feelings for you were very deep. Do not let her down. Since she is my proper wife, then you definitely need to go with me to see her. Xianxia held her hand, and he held it very tightly at that. Daddy, what is a proper wife? Yun Wuxin asked curiously. That is? Xianxia scratched his head before he spoke with much awkwardness. This question is simply far too profound and complex. Explaining it clearly to you will require a large amount of time. How about I sit you down another day just to tell you about this? How does that sound? Fine. Yun Wuxin obediently nodded her head before she pointed below her. There's an old grandpa who is coming over. Who is it? How dare you actually trespass into the Blue Wind Imperial Palace? The man who approached them was dressed all in green, his white beard fluttering in the wind. He had the air and disposition of an immortal. Xianxia glanced towards him. As expected, it was the Blue Wind Profound Palace's Palace Chief Dongfeng Ziu. Palace Chief Dongfeng's loud roar could be said to be so majestic and imposing that it shook the heavens and the earth. But once his gaze swept over Xianxia, his entire body trembled, and he very nearly fell backwards right there and then. Yun, why, Yun? Palace Chief Dongfeng stood rooted in the air, his old eyes opened wide. For a good long while he stumbled over that one single word, but after that he saw Chu Yuechan and he was so shocked that his jaw nearly dropped to the ground. The fairy, the fairy of frozen beauty. Xianxia said with a deadpan expression on his face. Palace Chief Dongfeng, it's been a long time. This junior's surname is Yun, name is Qi. At number %. Dongfeng Ziu finally managed to come back to his senses. His mustache and beard wildly shook with emotion. You came back, and the fairy of frozen beauty has also. This is great. This is simply too great, simply too great. Where is Yuer? Xianxia asked. Dongfeng Ziu immediately replied, Her Majesty is resting in her bedchambers right now. This old one was just going to report to her. Dongfeng Ziu suddenly realized that Xianxia was actually being supported by a girl in midair, and that it was clear that Xianxia was in a powerless state. His brows furrowed as he asked, Are you wounded? Xianxia shook his head before answering frankly, My body is fine, it's just that my profound strength has been completely crippled. What? Xianxia's words exploded in the ears of Palace Chief Dongfeng like a thunderclap that exploded in a clear sky. He suddenly thought of something amidst his astonishment, as his gaze swiftly shifted downwards. Due to the loud roar that had come from his mouth a few moments ago, a large amount of palace guards and profound palace disciples had already gathered in this place. So the words that he and Xianxia had just exchanged just now had naturally been heard by all of them. Dongfeng Ziu's heart abruptly sank, and he gave another great roar. All of you better forget every single word that you just heard. If even a hint of this leaks out. There's no need for that. Xianxia waved his hand as he chuckled. I'm already crippled, that fact won't change. So why can't other people find out about it? Dongfeng Ziu was faintly stunned by those words, but after that, he let out a great guffaw of laughter. Right, that was well said indeed. I really have grown old and muddle-headed. Even if you, Xianxia, have truly been crippled. Your accomplishments of having saving Blue Wind and saving the entire profound sky continent will absolutely not be the slightest bit diminished. If anyone dared to even try to mock you because of this, the wrath of countless profound practitioners alone would be enough to make that person lose their place in this world. Reunion. A woman slowly strode out from within the bedchambers below. Clad in golden clothes, she wore a jade crown, and with just those few simple steps, a sort of tyrannical might and nobility rushed forward to greet them. She slightly raised her delicate head, and she gave Xianxia a faint smile as she looked to the sky. Xianxia, you've returned. Yes, I'm back, Xianxia said as he looked at her, his gaze becoming incomparably warm and gentle. His eyes remained fixed on her for a very long period of time. Everyone else withdraw from this place, she said coolly. Palace Chief Dongfeng, you may withdraw as well. Yes. Everyone retreated en masse upon hearing her order, however. The news of Xianxia's return spread like surging waves which traveled in every direction. Before too long, this news would spread across the entire profound sky continent, and would even spread to the illusory demon realm. Feng Ziner supported Ling Jie as they descended from the sky and landed in front of Kang Yue. There was no one else around them right now, so Kang Yue did not need to maintain the imposing and majestic manner of a ruler. Her lips parted and tears stained her cheeks before she had even said a single word. She rushed forward, hurling herself heavily into Ling Jie's embrace. "Husband, you're back. You finally come back." The warm temperature, the figure and presence that she had yearned for day and night. She softly whispered under her breath as she wept. This blue-wind empress, whose weak and delicate shoulders had once borne the weight of facing a crisis which involved the life and death of her nation for 3 whole years, who was extremely revered by all of her citizens, was always so frail and delicate in front of Ling Jie. It was like this in the past, and it was still like this even now. "I've returned," Ling Jie said in a soft voice as he hugged her very gently, but he felt his arms unwittingly tighten around her. "I must have caused you endless worry over the past few years." Kang Yue shook her head as she replied in a voice choked with emotion. "As long as husband is safe and sound, then anything else is okay." Her shoulders shuddered intensely, and the sobbing sounds that she was struggling mightily to suppress continued for a good while before she finally calmed down. It was only at this moment that it suddenly occurred to her that there were still others around them. She hurriedly extracted herself from Ling Jie's bosom, but her arms were still firmly wrapped around his waist, as if she was afraid that he would suddenly leave again. "Ziner, thank you for accompanying him back," she said with a faint smile as she wiped her tears away. When she had heard Ling Jie's voice in her bedchambers just now, she had also heard the latter half of the conversation between him and Dongfeng Ziu, but she did not mention it, nor did she ask him about it. Feng Ziner shook her head as she gave a faint smile. "Empress Sis, please don't ever be so formal with me." As she said that, she subconsciously shifted her gaze, looking toward Chu Yuechan and her daughter who were standing to the side. After that, the look in her eyes changed, and it was only then that Chu Yuechan's figure registered in Kang Yue's brain. At this moment, her beautiful teary eyes froze in place, and it seemed as if she'd been instantly teleported into a dream. Words involuntarily spilled from her lips. "The fairy of frozen beauty." Chu Yuechan descended from the sky as she held her daughter's hand. After that, she gave a faint nod of her head as she said, "A single goodbye has spanned 12 years, and the former princess Kang Yue has already become an empress, one whose beauty and elegance far exceeds what it was once. Ling Jie truly is a lucky man." "Ahehe," Ling Jie gave a chuckle. "Mom, why is she hugging Daddy?" Xianxia Cultivation asked in a small voice behind Chu Yuechan, her gaze sweeping across Kang Yue every now and then. Even though she was still very young, and her notion of what a father was supposed to be was still shallow, she still vaguely knew that. A father was someone who should belong to mother alone. As she looked at Chu Yuechan, and the girl by her side who looked as flawless as a gem, a warmth and excitement that was hard to put into words completely filled Kang Yue's heart. She softly spoke as if in a dream, "That's your daughter, right?" "Amen," Ling Jie nodded his head. "Her name is Xianxia Cultivation, and she is my and little Yuechan's daughter." Kang Yue closed her eyes, feeling as if she had been caught in an illusion. During what happened in Heavenly Sword Villa all those years ago, she and Chu Yuechan had experienced the same thing. She was well aware of the world's shocking actions Chu Yuechan, the leader of the Frozen Cloud's 7 fairies, had done for the sake of the dead Ling Jie. She was even more aware of just how much pain and guilt Ling Jie had borne all of these years in regards to Chu Yuechan. Today, he had returned, and he had even brought Chu Yuechan and the child they had all those years ago together with him. All of this was as perfect and flawless as a dream. "Big sister Yuechan, she softly called out to Chu Yuechan, but she found it hard to speak afterwards. Even as a woman, even as Ling Jie's proper wife, there was no way she could feel even a smidgen of jealousy toward Chu Yuechan. Any woman who knew about what Chu Yuechan had done for Ling Jie would not feel any jealousy either, and would only feel boundless appreciation for her. Ripples appeared in Chu Yuechan's eyes. Her lips moved slightly, as if she wanted to say something, but in the end, she did not. Kang Yue had always addressed her as senior before this, but today she had addressed her as big sister. As Ling Jie's proper wife, this form of address was naturally a form of recognition and acceptance. Given the heart of ice Chu Yuechan had possessed for many decades, she should not have cared about any etiquette of this mortal world. But right now, great waves were surging up in her heart uncontrollably because of the words that Kang Yue had just softly spoken to her. "Big brother, Yun," the dreamy voice of a young girl rang out from behind them. It was as gentle and beautiful as a cloud, as soft and light as the wind. "Zuer," Yun Qi muttered under his breath before jerking his body around. Feng Zuer entered his vision. She was standing there dressed all in red in front of a teleportation formation, which pulsed with white light. Those hands, which were as white as snow, were forcefully pressed against her lips. That absolutely beautiful snow-white face, a face that was beautiful enough to make celestial fairies feel ashamed of their own inferiority, was now completely drenched by the tears that were wantonly flooding from her eyes. All light seemed to have dimmed in the place where Feng Zuer had appeared. Chu Yuechan lifted her eyes, and with just a single glance, she had confirmed this woman's identity. Those red phoenix cloud robes and that face that was as beautiful as a celestial fantasy. This could only be the phoenix goddess herself, the #1 goddess in the profound sky continent, Feng Zuer. Pretty. Even Yun Wuxin's lips had parted slightly as she involuntarily muttered something under her breath. With a flash of firelight, Feng Zuer had already rushed to Yun Qi's side amidst a flurry of dancing red clothes. The face that had been drenched by tears was now tightly stuck to his shoulder. She closed her eyes and savored the smell and aura that belonged to Yun Qi alone as she said in a teary voice, "Big brother Yun, you finally come back. You finally come back. Sniff, sniff, sniff." When Feng Zuer had rushed toward them, Feng Ziner could not help but take a step back due to the phoenix spiritual pressure that had come from her bloodline. After that, she stood there completely dumbstruck. Feng Zuer and Yun Qi's engagement was an event that no one in the profound sky continent was ignorant of. But to see the phoenix goddess, the first person who had reached the divine way in the history of the profound sky continent, the person who all the profound practitioners in the realm regarded as a divine being, rush sobbing to Yun Qi's side like a little girl. This was a scene that she was unable to imagine. It was a scene that no one even dared to imagine. The tears that poured down his chest nearly caused Yun Qi's entire heart to melt. He hugged Feng Zuer tightly as he said in a loving and affectionate voice, "Zuer, I'm little Qi." Yet another voice rang out from behind them, and it was a voice that heavily plucked at Yun Qi's heartstrings. Xiao Lingxi and Su Linger stood side by side in front of the teleportation formation. A faint smile played across Su Linger's jade-like mien, and her eyes had turned misty. But from the very first moment Xiao Lingxi had laid her eyes on Yun Qi, sparkling tears fell from her eyes like jade beads from a broken string. After time had frozen for just that one brief instant, she let out a low cry. She rushed toward Yun Qi with tears streaming from her eyes and tightly hugged him from behind, the tears flooding from her eyes swiftly drenching a large part of his back. "Little Qi, little Qi, little Qi," she muttered again and again. Compared to Kang Yue and Feng Ziner, who were both trying to hold it in, Xiao Lingxi's emotions had burst forth like water from a broken dam, and she was very soon reduced to soundless sobbing. There was a girl hugging him from both sides, and they were unwilling to let him go even after a long time had passed. Yun Qi's chest heaved, and it felt as if a warm aura was coursing through every part of his body. He had previously sworn that he would not let them worry or cry, but he broke that promise time and time again. He did not dare to imagine how many lifetimes it would take to repay the debt of emotion he owed all of them if he truly was not able to return this time. "Zuer Lingxi, please stop crying. Can't you see that I'm already back?" he said in a soft voice. "Ah, let her cry." Su Linger walked over with a faint smile on her face. "After you left, because of her worry for you, big sister Lingxi would keep on having the same nightmare over and over again. Now that you've returned safely, she can finally feel completely at ease." His heart was filled with boundless guilt as he stretched out a hand to softly pat Xiao Lingxi's soft and tender back. "Lingxi, all those dreams were fake. Take a look, not only have I returned, I have not even lost a single strand of hair on my head. If you don't believe me, you can take a good look yourself later on." HMPH. Fancy that, you did remember to come back. In this warm atmosphere created by the continuous reunions, an atmosphere that made one's heart throb with every breath, an icy voice that could pierce one's heart rang out at an inopportune moment. Just like before, a girl who looked to be only 15 or 16 years of age proudly stood in front of teleportation formation. She was dressed in opulent and luxurious long robes that were the color of pure gold. The skirt of her robes dragged along the ground, and her clothes hugged her waist, revealing a slender and willowy waist. Her face was jade-white and flawless, her lips as pink as powdered rouge. Her starry eyes were cold and detached, but it also seemed as if some moisture glimmered within them. Chu Yuechan turned her gaze to the newcomer. She could sense a tyrannical might radiating from this girl, a tyrannical might that surpassed any such aura she had ever felt in her entire life. This tyrannical might was not being unleashed deliberately, but something that was carved into this girl's very bone marrow. Coldness, pride, the scent of blood, the aura of an emperor. Due to Ling Jie's previous description of this person, the girl's identity floated up in Chu Yuechan's heart. The little demon empress. Ling Jie had said that she was the ruler of the illusory demon realm, and she was also the absolutely beautiful #1 beauty in the entire illusory demon realm. And it truly was as he had said. As another woman, Chu Yuechan was absolutely convinced that if this girl's beautiful eyes arced or fluttered just a little, all living beings would be mesmerized, and nothing else in this world would seem appealing. As for Su Linger and Xiao Lingxi, the former had been his companion through 2 lives, while the latter had grown up together with him. They were the people who were the closest to him in his life. For them to be smitten with him was perhaps to be expected. But as for the other 3 women, Kang Yue was the Blue Wind Empress, Feng Zuer was the Phoenix Goddess, and she was also the #1 person in the profound Sky Continent. The little demon Empress was the emperor of the illusory demon realm, the supreme ruler of an entire continent. It could be said that the most illustrious women in this world had all gathered around him. The moment they had heard of his return, no matter what their status or position was, they had all rushed to his side. This was true even for the little demon Empress, even though her words and her eyes were cold and her oppressive might assailed the world around her. This was something he had earned with his own life. As she thought about back to the time when her own heart and soul had been melted by Ling Jie, Chu Yuechan softly muttered those words in her heart. "Kei," Ling Jie said as his eyes turned toward the little demon Empress as quick as lightning. Facing the gaze which he had now directed towards her, the little demon Empress chose to look away before giving a cold snort. 4 years, and you don't seem to be missing an arm or a leg either. HMPH, at least you didn't go back on your promise. If you dared to be late by even a year, I would definitely go to that god realm or whatever to break your legs and drag you back here." The little demon Empress words were cold and harsh, but everyone could hear that her voice had clearly trembled as she had spoken that last bit. Ling Jie took a peek at the young Wuxin who had been hiding behind Chu Yuechan before he said in a soft voice, "Kei, let's slowly talk about these kind of things when we go back to your room, in front of my daughter. Can you please leave some dignity for me as a father?" The little demon Empress was stunned for a brief moment, and her eyes whirled. Feng Zuer, Xiao Lingxi, and Su Linger were also all completely flabbergasted. "Your daughter!" In their shock and suspicion, their gazes all fell on Yun Wuxin's body. Upon looking at this girl who was adorable as a porcelain doll, the same strange and indescribable feeling welled up in their hearts. After that, Su Linger softly said, "Big brother Ling Jie, you mentioned your daughter. Could it be that?" "Amen." Ling Jie nodded with a faint smile on his face. "This is my and Yuechan's daughter. Her name is Yun Wuxin, and she's already 11 this year." "Ahhhhhh." The same cry of startled astonishment issued from all of their lips. After that, it was as if they had all realized something as they looked toward the Chu Yuechan who was standing beside Yun Wuxin. "Could it be that she is Big Sister Yuechan?" Among all of them, only Kang Yue had ever seen Chu Yuechan. But as people who had been at Ling Jie's side, how could any of them not know the name Chu Yuechan? The little demon Empress descended from the sky, softly landing in front of Chu Yuechan and Yun Wuxin. At this moment, the coldness in her eyes had melted into a gentle softness that even Ling Jie had rarely seen. "Little Sister Yuechan, the fact that you are safe and sound is the best news we have heard over the last few years. During those years, both of you, mother and child, must have had it hard. If you are willing to acknowledge us as your sisters, then from now on, we will return whatever Ling Jie owes to the both of you together with him." A faint smile appeared on Ling Jie's face, but a slight feeling of envy arose in his heart, because he could not seem to recall any such occasion where the little demon Empress had spoken to him in such a warm and gentle manner. "There's no need for that." Chu Yuechan shook her head. "The past few years have not been hard or bitter for me, and I have not regretted or resented anything." A faint smile appeared on the little demon Empress' face, and her heart was filled with a boundless appreciation and gratitude. She knew all of them knew that Chu Yuechan had always been a heavy burden in Ling Jie's heart that he would never be able to let go of. But today, he had not only returned, he had also found Chu Yuechan, who was safe and sound, and their daughter who was safe and sound as well. There could be no ending more perfect than this in this world. Because she was being scrutinized by many gazes, Yun Wuxin's body began to shrink backwards more and more. Chu Yuechan bent over slightly and said in a gentle voice, "Zinner, what are you waiting for? Go and greet your aunties." Yun Wuxin did not take a step forward. Instead, she spoke in a small and timid voice. All of them seemed to like Daddy a lot. "Amen." Chu Yuechan nodded her head. "To be able to be liked by so many people proves that your daddy is very powerful. So you should be happy for your daddy instead." Yun Qi's normally thick-skinned face turned a slight shade of red. "Amen." Yun Wuxin nodded her head as if she understood, but also as if she still did not quite understand. However, none of them noticed that there was a pair of eyes silently watching them from a place even higher than the peaks of the clouds. Mu Xuanian's snowy hand pressed against her heart. Her celestial body trembled as if she was caught in a cold wind that she was unable to endure. She kept looking at Yun Qi. It was just that her eyes had already become incredibly misty as a dense fog that appeared in one's dream. Yun Wuxin's arrival was undoubtedly the arrival of a bright moon that had descended from the heavens. All of the women were now crowding around her like stars ringing that bright moon. Perhaps it was due to their all-encompassing love for Yun Qi, or perhaps it was because Yun Wuxin had been born with a sort of bewitching ability to get people to like her. But all of the women gazed at Yun Wuxin like they were staring at the world's most precious, luxurious treasure. They truly wanted to get closer to her, to take good care of her, and they continuously asked her all sorts of strange questions, gradually dispelling the nervousness and tension in her heart. On the contrary, it was Yun Qi who had now been left forgotten on the sidelines. Su Linger grabbed Chu Yuechan's arm, her long and slender fingers moving to her chest after that. After she finished her meticulous inspection, she let her hands fall and her expression had also become visibly relaxed. "What's the situation?" Kang Yue asked rather anxiously. A faint smile appeared on Su Linger's face as she said, "Don't worry, there's nothing wrong. Even though Big Sister Yuechan lost her profound strength, her constitution is different from normal folk. This, coupled with the fact that the heavens truly protected her, means that we only need to get rid of the cold energy from her body. Once we accomplish that, and she goes through a period of convalescence, she will be completely fine." Yun Qi really wanted to say that Chu Yuechan's unique constitution had come from his dragon god divine aura. "Is that really true?" Su Linger's words made Yun Wuxin jump with joyous surprise. "Then, after Mom gets better, can she cultivate again?" Su Linger looked at her and gave her a comforting gaze. "Your mother's profound veins have only become extremely withered and exhausted. They were not completely destroyed. For a normal person, trying to restore these profound veins would be extremely difficult. But as long as your Aunt Zur is around, restoring them will actually be an extremely simple matter." Among all the girls present, Su Linger was the youngest, but she was also the same as Yun Qi, possessing the experience and memories of 2 lives. After taking Yun Gu as her master, she had thrown her heart and soul into studying medicine, causing her temperament to become much more mild and elegant. Her soft and gentle words were like a light shower of rain that washed over one's heart, so when she spoke, one could not help but believe whatever she said. This was especially true when she was together with Xiao Lingxi. It was as if she was the older sister. Yun Wuxin's body turned around and she accurately found Feng Zuer's figure. Her eyes glimmered as she spoke. "Aunt Zuer, you definitely need to save my mother. After I grow up, I will definitely repay Aunt Zuer." Feng Zuer gave a faint smile as she gave a light shake of her head. "There's no need to pay me back. This is what Aunt Zuer ought to do." "Cough," Yun Qi spoke up. "Zinner has inherited the Phoenix bloodline from me, but she has not yet cultivated the world ode of the Phoenix. I want Zinner to take you as her teacher. What do you think?" Surprise blossomed on Feng Zuer's face as she said, "If Big Brother Yun is willing, then it's definitely not a problem. But why doesn't Big Brother Yun want to teach her himself?" It's not that I don't want to teach her. It's just that I've lost all of my profound strength now, so it's not too convenient for me to teach her," Yun Qi said slowly. Even though he did not have his profound strength anymore, he naturally would not forget the world ode of the Phoenix divine art. His knowledge of how to use it and his understanding of its principles far outstripped that of anyone else. While it was true that there would be no problems whatsoever if he was simply teaching it, there was one major problem with that choice. Given the current condition of his body, he needed to be at least several kilometers distant from Yun Wuxin when he taught her, because if her power went even a little out of control, it was enough to kill him a few hundred times over. Yun Qi's words caused the color to flee from Feng Zuer's jade face. The little demon empress jerked her body around, and Xiao Lingxi and Su Linger both cried out involuntarily at the same time. Even though they had not sensed any profound energy emanating from Yun Qi's body, every single one of them had unanimously believed that this was definitely because Yun Qi's current level of cultivation was too high, that it had reached a realm that they would not be able to detect or understand. After all, he had been in the legendary God realm for the last 4 years. "There's no need to be so tense," Yun Qi said nonchalantly, a cheery expression on his face. "I lost my profound strength and that is that, but with all of you around, it doesn't matter whether I have profound strength or not." He was well aware that if he grew despondent, they would become as frustrated as he was. Thus, the more relaxed and nonchalant he was about this, the more they could truly calm down and feel at ease. The little demon empress golden figure blurred, and after that, she had already arrived at Yun Qi's side. Her lustrous white finger alighted on his chest in a flash, her beautiful eyes turned towards him, and she asked in a soft voice, "Is there any chance of recovery?" Yun Qi smiled as he shook his head. "My profound veins are more unique than most, so I probably won't be able to recover. However, it's for the best. Without profound strength, I won't need to waste any time and effort on cultivating, and I won't need to bear any responsibility either. With all of you around, the profound sky continent and the illusory demon realm will be safe and sound. Even if another Duke Ming or Xun Yuechan appears, all of you will be able to easily deal with them." But, even though Yun Qi appeared exceptionally relaxed and unconcerned, all of them were acutely aware on just how cruel it was for a profound practitioner to become a cripple. Furthermore, Yun Qi had such talent and had scaled such heights, and he even had such a great amount of pride. "Lingxi," Yun Qi said with a laugh, "when we were young, I did not have any profound strength, and no matter what happened, I would always be used to hiding behind your back. Right now, it seems as if we have returned to that time, so from now on, I'll need you to protect me again. Zuer, even though I've become a cripple now, our engagement has already been set, and everyone under heaven knows about it. So it's too late to back out even if you want to, ha. Linger, if I fall sick from now on, you'll need to? Enough already." The little demon empress gave him a hard look as she cut off his mushy words and coldly snorted. "Save this sort of talk for when you are alone with them. Aren't you afraid that Zinner will find this sort of talk weird? However, not having profound strength really is a great thing when it comes to you. As such, we won't need to worry that you'll leave us behind without any further communication like you did 4 years ago. You can also forget about seeking death, making trouble, or sowing your wild oats anymore." "I wouldn't be so sure that he'll stop sowing his wild oats," Kang Yue said with a small pout. "Yun Qi, The little demon empress' starry eyes flickered and she exhaled softly. After that, her tone grew slightly softer. "Did you manage to fulfill your wish during these past 4 years?" The scenes of his parting with Jasmine flashed through his mind, causing an intense pain to stab at his heart. However, he still wore that relaxed smile on his face as he said, "Since I have already returned, it's only natural that I managed to accomplish what I aimed for." At first, when he had accompanied Mu Bingyun to the God realm, the excuse he had given himself was that he was going so that he would be able to see Jasmine again and be able to give her a proper goodbye. He had seen her again and he had also said his goodbyes, but it could also be said that he had accomplished what he had wanted to. "Then it's fine." The little demon empress continued to speak. "In the future, will you still return to that place? Would he go back to the God realm? During the 2 months he had been back in the profound sky continent, he had never thought of this question. It was not that he had forgotten about it. It was that he had been subconsciously avoiding the question. 2 months ago, he would not have been able to return home even if he wanted to. But his death had allowed him to make a perfect return to this place. In the God realm, he was considered to be deceased in the eyes of everyone. All of the attention, pressure, and danger that had surrounded him had naturally dissipated as well. Jasmine is dead. Keijai is dead. King Yu has severed our ties as husband and wife and has chosen to remain in the moon God realm. Shenzai I no longer have to face to go and see her, and I have even less face to go and see Master. Also, even if he wanted to return, he would no longer be able to return. I won't go there ever again, Yun Qi said with a laugh, his expression still relaxed. One could not see the slightest trace of attachment or longing on his face, nor was there any sign that he was stifling any of his emotions. Yun Qi spread out of his hands after that. Besides, given my current condition, I wouldn't be able to return even if I wanted to. Chu Yuechan silently gazed at him, but she did not say anything. Anyways, all of these things aren't important anymore. Ling Jie held Yun Wuxin's small hand. Zinner, your Aunt Zuer is the most powerful person in this world. How about you let her be your master? This way you will be able to protect me and your mom even better once you've grown up. The most powerful person? Yun Wuxin blinked a few times. Zuer, show Zinner just how powerful her future master is, Ling Jie said cheerily. A beautiful and sweet smile appeared on Feng Zuer's face, and she lifted up a snowy hand and tapped a finger in the air above her head. SCRE? An incomparably loud and resonant phoenix cry suddenly rang out in the boundless skies above them. In a split second, the skies above the entire Blue Wind Imperial City, and even half of the skies that covered the Blue Wind Nation itself, had turned scarlet red, as if the skies had been covered in the light of the setting sun. In the scarlet skies above them, an enormous phoenix slowly spread out its wings, radiating a boundless amount of phoenix spiritual pressure at the world beneath it. In that moment, the entire Blue Wind Nation seemed to have gone completely quiet. Besides the cry of the phoenix, one could not hear any other sound. Countless profound practitioners sank to their knees as their bodies trembled. It was as if they had seen a deity. The divine profound realm, even though she was only in the divine origin realm, that was enough to be counted as a true divinity on this plane. UWA. Yun Wuxin's little mouth formed a big O shape. This was undoubtedly the most gorgeous, mystical, and inconceivable thing she had seen in her entire life, and it created an impact that was far too intense for her young heart and soul. Upon seeing her reaction, Feng Zuer retracted her jade hand. Immediately, the figure of the phoenix and the red clouds that filled the sky vanished at the same time. It was as if she had withdrawn an enchanting and illusory dreamscape. Yun Wuxin skipped over to Feng Zuer, her diamond-like starry eyes still glittering and shining. Aunt Zuer, can I also do that in the future? Feng Zuer gave a small laugh. Of course you will. You are only 11 this year, but you've already reached the Emperor Profound Realm. You're even more outstanding than your daddy was in the past. As long as you work hard at it, you will definitely be able to do this as well before long. I want to learn. Yun Wuxin skipped around excitedly. Aunt Zuer, please teach me. I will definitely work hard, and after that I'll show it to Mother. The evil god's divine aura, the phoenix bloodline, the dragon god bloodline. Even though Yun Wuxin was still a little girl who had not matured or developed yet, an innate desire for profound strength was buried in her blood. Furthermore, this innate desire would grow more and more intense as she grew up. She did not have resources, opportunities, or a profound art that suited her. Even her profound veins had not fully been formed yet. Furthermore, Chu Yuechan could only give her the most basic guidance and instruction. Yet at 11 years of age, she had already reached the 9th level of the Emperor Profound Realm, not too far away from becoming an Overlord. But from today onwards, she would have the best resources in the profound sky continent and the illusory demon realm. She would have the best environment. Even more than that, she would have Feng Zuer as her teacher, and she would be able to cultivate the world ode of the phoenix, an art that was most suitable for her. So her future growth, even Ling Jie himself did not dare to estimate it. BR, brother-in-law, brother-in-law. The teleportation profound formation flashed, and before that person's figure had even appeared, an anxious voice had already rung out from within it. Ling Jie turned around only to see Xia Yuanba's mountainous body rush straight at him. Because he was far too excited, his profound energy had faintly gone out of control, and half of the imperial palace faintly shook with each thunderous step he took. Ling Jie was greatly alarmed by this, and he started to backpedal in a great panic. Yuan, stop. Feng Zuer swiftly raised her hand, and a profound energy barrier instantly appeared in front of Xia Yuanba. Xia Yuanba's head collided with the barrier with a loud bang, and he was sent flying far back. After that, he leapt to his feet with a whoosh sound, his expression dazed. Ling Jie's forehead was matted with sweat, and he pointed toward Xia Yuanba and gave a great roar. Yuanba, you've already been the Saint Emperor of the Absolute Monarch Sanctuary for so many years, can't you be a bit more dignified? Given Ling Jie's current small physique, if Xia Yuanba suddenly smacked into him, he would definitely be smashed to pieces on the spot. Xia Yuanba was stunned by that roar, and as he looked at the girls surrounding Ling Jie, girls whose status alone would be enough to scare anyone to death, he seemed to have more or less figured it out. Oh, am I interrupting brother-in-law's reunion right now? That's not the important point. Yun Qi strode toward him. First and foremost, I no longer possess any profound strength, so if you just used a little bit of force, it'd be enough to kill me. Second, you're gonna scare my daughter easily if you're like this. As he finished, he let out a great laugh and leapt forward to tightly hug the completely dazed Xia Yuanba. Above the peaks of the clouds, Mu Xuanian quietly looked at Yun Qi, her gaze never shifting away from him for even a single moment. In the end, she, who should have been in seclusion, had ended up asking Mu Bingyun for the coordinates of the blue pole star. She wanted to find Yun Qi's family and inform them of his death. After that, she wanted to leave them enough heavenly Lake Jade pellets to prosper them for the rest of their lives. But before she could even find his family, she had found him instead. Yun Qi, who should have already been dead, had appeared alive and well in her vision. He did not have any profound strength anymore, and his looks had declined greatly. But that was definitely Yun Qi. She had been convinced from the very first glance. She wanted to rush down and appear before him, but upon seeing the women crowding around him, upon seeing him laughing uproariously as he tightly hugged his friends, upon sensing their auras and their hearts which were firmly locked onto him, in the end, she chose to retreat. She had never seen Yun Qi so relaxed and happy before. In the Snow Song realm, he had desperately trained and cultivated in order to be able to participate in the profound God convention. Outside the Snow Song realm, he was forever accompanied by danger and pressure. And in the end, he had even been targeted by the most terrifying person in the entire Eastern Divine region, and he was forced to flee to the Western Divine region. In the Western Divine region, within the territory of the Dragon Queen Shenzai, Mu Xuanian knew even less about how he was doing. It could be said that every single day he had spent in the God realm had been spent in an extremely suffocating environment. However, this place was his home. It was the place where he was born. Even though he had lost all of his profound strength, all of the danger and pressure had also completely disappeared. He did not need to be nervous or apprehensive, risk life and limb, flee all over the place, nor did he need to survive by the skin of his teeth. The strongest auras in this world belonged to the people who stood at his side. No one could ever threaten him or harm him again. The women by his side, every single one of them possessed a beauty that could topple a world. To a man, this was undoubtedly the perfect life. This is fine as well, she muttered softly to herself. Her figure froze in midair and the desire to meet him again vanished in her heart, as if it had been brought away by soft clouds. It was just that for some odd reason, her vision was growing more and more blurry, as though something was pressing down on her chest, making it impossible for her to breathe for a very long time. Imperial maid, brother-in-law, how did you lose your profound strength? And how did you make it back from God realm if you didn't have any profound strength? Xia Yuanba asked the question everyone wanted to know the answer to. It's very complicated. I'll tell you about it in the future. It was the only reply Yun Qi could give. The twists and turns behind his resurrection had been both complicated and incomprehensible. Also, he couldn't possibly tell them that he had returned only because he had died, could he? Oh right, Yun Qi said. When I was in the God realm, I found... Yun Qi suddenly stopped himself. He had wanted to tell Xia Yuanba that he had found Xia Qingyu in the Eastern Divine region, and that he had learned of his mother's location. However, that also meant that Yuanba, motivated by his findings, would probably set out to the God realm to find them when he cultivated to the divine profound realm one day. Xia Yuanba had been born with the tyrannical emperor's divine veins, thanks to Yue Wugu's divine stainless body. Having spent a couple of years in the God realm, Yun Qi knew very well just how incredible the tyrannical emperor's divine veins really were. If Yuanba really wants to achieve the divine way, then not even the inferior environment of a lower realm was going to stop him. It would just be a matter of time. But when he recalled that both women were currently in the Moon God realm, a plane that was far beyond Yuanba's reach, when he recalled that the Eastern Divine region's laws of survival were far crueler than they were in the lower realms, and when he recalled the reason why neither Yue Wugu nor Xia Qingyu were able to return home, Yun Qi quickly corrected himself after the pause and said, I found a couple of profound arts that are quite suited for you. I'll tell you all about them another day. Wah, really? Xia Yuanba was so excited his eyes were bulging. As the possessor of the tyrannical emperor's divine veins, Yuanba's desire to improve his profound way became his #1 passion the day it had taken root in his soul. It was why Yun Qi's mention of the God realm's profound art had lit up every flame that existed in his heart. Say, Yun Qi shot a glance at Xian Yuanba's increasingly ridiculous body shape before asking, "Have you found someone and gotten married while I was gone?" "Gotten married?" Xian Yuanba looked confused. "No, I haven't. Why would I want to get married?" "Never mind, just assume that I never asked," Yun Qi replied with a look of worry. Age-wise, Xia Yuanba was only 1 year younger than him, and his own child was already 11 years old. But not only had Yuanba not touched a woman in his entire life, he didn't even seem to be remotely interested in them. As the Saint Emperor of Absolute Monarch Sanctuary and one of the strongest profound practitioners in the entire profound sky continent, this man was practically a disgrace to all the Saint Emperors before him. A long time ago, Jasmine had said that a profound practitioner whose tyrannical emperor's divine veins had awakened would transform into a freak who was obsessed with the profound way, and only the profound way. She was right. Zuer Ke, I've also gotten the complete version of the World Ode of the Phoenix and the Golden Crow's record of the Burning World. I'll teach them to you both later. Ah, Feng Zuer exclaimed in pleasant surprise, the complete version of the World Ode of the Phoenix. Amen. There are a total of 10 stages in the complete World Ode of the Phoenix, and I acquired it while I was visiting a star realm called the Flame God Realm. It was the Phoenix spirit there who gifted me the complete World Ode of the Phoenix. In fact, not only did he obtain the complete version of the Phoenix and the Golden Crow's divine arts, he had even cultivated their ultimate techniques, World Illuminator Red Lotus and 9 Suns Heaven's Fury. Unfortunately, that was all in the past now. We will speak of this in the future. The little demon empress reaction was mild compared to Zuer's, however. For now, let us return to the demon imperial city and meet with father and mother. Yun Qi's heart surged like a tidal wave as he looked at her. Have father and mother heard of my return already? I sent a message to them before I came here, the little demon empress replied. They must be feeling quite anxious to see you right now. All right. Yun Qi got up and pulled Yun Wuxin to his side. Zinner, let's go meet your grandpa and grandma. But Chu Yuechan suddenly spoke up with shifty eyes. I wish to take a look around Frozen Cloud Asgard. At first, Yun Qi was surprised by her outburst. Then the answer hit him and caused the corner of his lips to curl slightly. Apparently, not even Chu Yuechan was immune to stage fright. He took a step forwards to hold her hand. I'll accompany you to Frozen Cloud Asgard later, but right now it is more important that we meet with father and mother, am I right? My mother would surely nag me to death if you don't come. Chu Yuechan tried to withdraw her hand weakly, but that was all the resistance she could muster before she gave in. Big brother benefactor. Suddenly, Feng Ziner spoke up in a timid voice. Can I accompany you to the illusory demon realm too? Huh. Yun Qi was a little caught off guard, but he quickly replied, Of course you can. I told you that you may find me at Imperial Demon City anytime you wish. What I mean is... Feng Ziner looked down while strangling her sash nervously. Lord Phoenix God ordered me to be your personal maid, to protect you at all times, until the day it passes from this world. She had barely been able to finish her sentence, and by the time she was finally done, her chin was threatening to sink into her own chest. She dared not even look up until a very long time later. Little Demon Empress, Su Linger, Macron, Zio Lingxi, Feng Zuer, right arrow, Chu Yuechan, Xia Yuanba. Oh, Yun Qi scratched the tip of his nose once before he snuck a peek at the girl's reactions. Then he said carefully, Your Lord Phoenix God probably doesn't look beyond its borders often, does it? The Yun family is the strongest guardian family in the illusory demon realm, so no one would dare harm me there. As for the profound sky continent, my safety is even less of an issue since Absolute Monarch Sanctuary is Yuanba's, the Divine Phoenix sect is Zioners, and Frozen Cloud Asgard is, mine, I guess. So I highly doubt that I'll run into any danger, be it the profound sky continent or illusory demon realm. I don't think I can run into one even if I try. Feng Zioner. Besides, you're the descendant of the Phoenix, aren't you? With such an identity, there isn't anyone in this world who deserves to have you as their maid, Yun Qi added. At the same time, he complained in his head. Did that Phoenix soul seriously ask one of its purest, most talented descendants to become his maid? Did its brain crash or something? But Kang Yue chose this moment to speak up with a smile. It is a little unjust towards Zioner, but I find this arrangement quite perfect for our needs. Amen. Yun Qi was caught off guard yet again. Kang Yue shot a glance at Zioner before smiling. Big Sister Kei is the little demon empress of illusory demon realm, and there are many things she needs to busy herself with. Big Sister Yuechan has to take care of Wuxin. Zur is the divine phoenix sect's sect master, and the sect needs her to carry out its daily duties. Lingxi needs to take care of Grandpa Zio, Linger needs to practice her medicine, and I need to handle my own nation. Long story short, none of us are able to accompany you at all times, husband. But Zioner is a pure-hearted soul who has grown up in a land of peace. She has no worldly duties to attend to, and she's at the Emperor Profound realm. We'd all feel a lot more at ease if she was around to take care of you and protect you at all times. Yun Qi's mouth was agape. There was actually nothing he could think of that could counter Kang Yue's reasoning at all. Besides, that is the will of the Phoenix God, is it not? It must have its own reasons for putting out such an order. In fact, this was the biggest reason Kang Yue had agreed with the arrangement. She looked at Feng Zioner with warm and sincere eyes and said, "So please take care of our husband while we're gone, Zioner." "Amen. I will do my best," Feng Zioner replied with her head still bowed. Right now she lacked the courage to look anyone in the eye, especially Yun Qi. "All right, that is decided then. Father and mother must be getting very anxious already, so let's not keep them waiting any longer, shall we?" Kang Yue said before pushing Yun Qi gently towards the direction of the teleportation formation. Back then, Yun Qi had ordered all 4 holy lands to splash a huge amount of resources to construct a super long-distance teleportation formation, connecting both the profound sky continent and illusory demon realm. Moreover, he had also set up a couple of smaller teleportation formations at the Yun family's residence, Blue Wind Imperial City, the Divine Phoenix Sect, and Frozen Cloud Asgard for their personal use. He then eliminated both Sun Moon Divine Hall and Mighty Heavenly Sword region after the work was completed, as they had ceased to be useful. When Yun Qi stepped out of the teleportation formation, he was immediately greeted by a vast space. Yun Qi let out an urgent cry and rushed to the front, moving past the courtyard gates and finding Yun Qinghong and Mu Yuru waiting for him. Yun Qi's eyes shuddered as he dropped on his knees. Then he whispered, "Father, mother, your son has been unfilial. I've made you worry again for such a long time." "Amen." Yun Qinghong nodded with a smile. "You've shown the greatest filial piety just by coming home safely." "Chair." Mu Yuru rushed forwards and lifted him with both arms. Her voice was sobbing the moment she had started to speak. "It's good that you're home. For the past few years, Mother has been." All right, Yun Qinghong chuckled. "Now that Chair has returned safe and sound, there's no need to worry anymore." Mu Yuru wiped away her tears before smiling. "I heard that you've lost your profound strength from Kei. That's not all bad. In the past, you have been the one to protect the Yun family and us. Now Mother can finally return the favor in kind and protect her own child." "Amen." Yun Qi nodded strongly with teary eyes. "From here on, I will always be under your wing. I won't make the two of you worry any longer." Yun Qinghong couldn't find the darkness he was worried about from Yun Qi's expression or words, so he was both relieved and proud of his son. In fact, he found it almost unimaginable that Yun Qi had somehow managed to overcome such a drastic and terrible turn of fate. Then he turned to look at the Phoenix girl standing behind Yun Qi before asking, "Chair, who is this lady?" Feng Zioner walked forwards and bowed towards them. "This junior's name is Feng Zioner. I am Big Brother Benefactor's personal maid, greeting uncle and auntie." "Maid?" Yun Qinghong's eyebrows moved a little as surprise colored his features. Feng Zioner was as pretty as a flower and as fragrant as an orchid. Her phoenix aura also gave her an indescribable sense of nobility, the kind that not even the women of the prince's mansion could hope to achieve. And her cultivation, how on earth could she possibly be a personal maid? "About this, it's going to take some time to explain." Yun Qi grimaced a little as he replied. He himself hadn't been able to accept it yet. But Mu Yuru gave him a meaningful smile and said, "It's okay, Mother understands everything. Zioner, since your Chair personal maid, please take good care of Chair and do treat this place like your own home, all right?" "Yes, ma'am." Feng Zioner bowed again. Yun Qi looked up. "Are you misunderstanding something, Mother?" "Everything is going as you wish it to be, so what misunderstanding could there possibly be?" Mu Yuru said, smiling before looking behind him. "Speaking of which, would you like to introduce your companions?" Yun Qi turned around to look behind him, and it was only then he noticed that neither Chu Yuechan nor Yun Wuxin had followed him. They were hiding behind the courtyard gate and revealing just a bit of sleeve. Yun Qi slapped himself in the head once before he ran back to the courtyard gates. Then, he held both their hands before pulling them into Yun Qinghong and Mu Yuru's vision. Chu Yuechan had been a cold, unfeeling person who cared not for worldly rights her whole life. Or at least that was what she had believed herself to be until now. For whatever reason, she had never felt as timid as when she was facing Yun Qi's parents. In comparison, Yun Wuxin was 1/3 shy and 2/3 curious. "Father, mother," Yun Qi said seriously as he stood before his parents. "This is Yuechan, and this is our daughter. I've finally found them after losing them both for 12 years. Yun Qinghong and Mu Yuru shuddered violently at the same time. Yue Chan? How could Mu Yuru not know this name? From the day she had learned about the incident from the women of Frozen Cloud Asgard by accident, it had become a permanent knot in her heart. Mu Yuru's eyes blurred instantly as she stared at Chu Yuechan and the girl they were holding hands with, the girl that was tied to them by blood. She raised her hands slowly, but she suddenly fell backwards when a dizzy spell struck her out of nowhere. Yun Qinghong swiftly acted to catch her before she hit the ground. Meanwhile, Chu Yuechan was already bowing down slowly. "Woman of blue wind, Chu Yuechan, greets uncle and auntie." Yun Qinghong was a patriarch who had stayed calm even in the face of family annihilation, but it was obvious that he was so shaken that even words were beyond him at this moment. "Yuechan?" Mu Yuru broke out in tears as she pushed Yun Qinghong away gently before acting to lift Chu Yuechan to her feet. Finally, Chair has found you. But how can the Yun family possibly repay our debt to you?" Above the clouds, Mu Xuanian finally withdrew her gaze from Yun Qi before turning around and leaving without a sound. She did not leave even a single trace behind, just like a light cloud that could be brushed away by a single breeze. Empress silently watched Yun Qi's reunion with his parents, but she did not disturb them. "Is there really no way for him to recover his profound strength?" she asked Su Linger, who was by her side. Su Linger replied softly, "There is not such thing as an absolute in this world. It's just that his profound veins are far too unique, so I'm afraid that the chances are really faint. Perhaps Master might have a way." Su Linger had said the latter half of her sentence very softly. She had just checked the condition of Yun Qi's body. It was clear that even if Yun Gu had been there, he also should have been powerless to do anything. The little demon empress' eyes dimmed, and she spoke only after a long period of silence. "If there really isn't anything we can do about it in the end, we still need to exhaust every avenue and possibility we can to extend his lifespan, no matter the cost." She could accept Yun Qi turning into a cripple, because they could still protect and ensure that not even a single hair on his head would be harmed. What she could not accept was that he would go before her in the future. An ordinary body also meant an ordinary lifespan. "MNN?" Su Linger gave a faint nod of her head, but she was unable to make an explicit promise that it would work. She shifted her gaze to look downwards before she spoke softly. "I found out a very long time ago that Big Sister Yuechan had once been the Blue Wind Nation's #1 beauty, and as it turns out, it was completely true. HMPH, in the end, he still took complete advantage of her," the little demon empress said with a soft snort. Su Linger could not help but cover her lips as she said, "That's right. This is especially true for you, the little demon empress. Everything you had that should have been taken advantage of and should not ever have been taken advantage. He had completely taken advantage of them all." The little demon empress' beautiful eyes turned away as quick as lightning. A slightly disordered look had appeared in those eyes. Of course she knew what Su Linger was talking about, after she had gotten married to Yun Qi. She originally thought that she only had 3 years of life left, and her greatest desire was to have a child with Yun Qi in order to continue the demon emperor's bloodline. At that time, Yun Qi had told her in a very serious and sincere manner that she had to continuously try out and shift through all sorts of poses and positions while making love in order to quickly conceive a child, and that they even had to do it in different places. When it came to the affairs between man and woman, the little demon empress had been a completely blank piece of white paper. Furthermore, Yun Qi was the genius doctor whose name had stirred up the entire illusory demon realm, one that could heal any illness. She naturally took his word as law. As a result, during that period of time, she, the distinguished illusory demon realm's little demon empress, was made to display all sorts of shameful poses and positions by Yun Qi every single day, shameful poses and positions that even brothel girls would be too ashamed to try. She would even listen to and cooperate with him in an incomparably obedient manner, no matter how outrageous his requests were. It was only after Yun Qi had left for the God realm, when she, Feng Zuer, and Su Linger had engaged in some girl talk, that she had found out that she had actually been defiled and humiliated by Yun Qi every single day. HMPH, oh, just look at how I'm going to deal with him today, the little demon empress said through faintly gritted teeth. All right, Su Linger concealed her smile with a hand. Then I'll let you have him tonight. You had better earn back all of those advantages that he has taken from you. Oh, right. Big brother Xianxia loves this the most. She placed her lips near the little demon empress ears before softly whispering the rest of it to her. At number percent, the little demon empress jade face was instantly dyed an extremely tender and beautiful shade of red. After that, she swiftly turned around and beat a quick retreat. Su Linger gave a soft laugh as she pursed her lips. When she looked back, her expression had gradually grown solemn. There definitely has to be a way, she muttered under her breath. Eastern Divine Region, Snow Song Realm, Ice Phoenix Sacred Hall. Xuanian descended from a sky which was filled with flying snow. She had a cold and absent-minded look in her eyes as she slowly strode into the hall, and she actually did not notice that Mu Bingyun was already inside. Big sister. Upon seeing that her sister had returned, Mu Bingyun strode forward and asked, "Did you manage to find his family?" "I found them," Mu Xuanian replied in a rather wooden voice. "Did you tell them?" Mu Bingyun walked over. The two sisters stood together, immediately painting the most aesthetically beautiful scene that could appear in the Snow Song realm. "No, I did not." Mu Xuanian's cold voice sounded rather soft and whispery when she said these words. Mu Bingyun was the person who understood Mu Xuanian the best in this world. Even though she could tell that something was off from Mu Xuanian's gaze, she did not ask about it. Instead, she gave a faint nod of her head as she said, "If Big Sister does not know how to broach the subject, then allow me to go and do it instead." "You're not allowed to go?" Mu Xuanian's voice rang out sharply in retort just after Mu Bingyun had voiced her thoughts. "Why?" Mu Bingyun asked with a small frown. "I said that you're not allowed to go, so you're not allowed to go." Once those words left her lips, she realized the anxiety and curtness of her tone. She closed her eyes slightly as her tone grew gentler. Even though Xianxia is dead, the commotion that he caused in the past was simply far too great, and the secrets that he possessed are things that many people still want to search for and chase after. Furthermore, the starting point of his journey in the God realm was our Snow Song realm, so there might very well still be many eyes on us at this point. I can use moon-splitting cascade, so no one will be able to detect me coming and going. However, if you travel to that place and someone picks up on your trail, then you might just end up putting that place in danger. Mu Bingyun silently stared at her, but she did not wait for their eyes to meet. Instead, she gave a soft sigh and said, "I understand." Her fairy-like figure turned around and left slowly. When she neared the hall door, her feet halted and her beautiful eyes faintly closed as she spoke in a soft voice. "Big sister, did you realize? In the past, you'd never hide anything from me. But over the last few years, as long as it had something to do with him, you'd always either avoid the subject or hide the truth." Mu Xuanian. "We are sisters bound by blood. We are each other's only family. You can hide it from anyone else, you can even lie to yourself. But did you really think that I wouldn't notice anything?" Mu Xuanian's gaze grew troubled. "Even though he is a junior, even though the two of you are master and student." Mu Bingyun's delicate head rose as she looked at the rainbow-like flying snow as words that even she still found hard to believe spilled from her lips. Possessing the power of a creation god, he fearlessly went to face the horned dragon in the Inferno prison for your sake. He also used just 3 short years to defeat the previous 4 god children. Furthermore, he threw the star god realm into great turmoil and caused the heavenly slaughter star god to be willing to transform into the evil infant. This sort of man. I don't think that it's impossible for Big Sister to like someone like him. On the contrary, Mu Bingyun's chest rose and fell beneath her snowy robes, but she did not continue. Instead, she started to leave once more. "He isn't dead," Mu Xuanian's voice rang out behind her. Her feet halted once again as Mu Bingyun jerked her body around. "What did you say?" "He isn't dead," Mu Xuanian repeated, her eyes still closed. "In that planet called the Blue Pole Star, I saw him again." Mu Bingyun swiftly strode over, her icy aura a little disordered. "But his soul crystal had clearly shattered, and you even witnessed the reason for his death and the state in which he died in. How could—" "I don't know," Mu Xuanian shook her head. "But that's him. I definitely can't be wrong. It's just that he has lost all of his profound strength. Perhaps he used some sort of method to escape death, and he was returned to the place where he was born. But the price he had to pay was the loss of all of his strength and powers." Even if what she had said was simply far too inconceivable, Mu Xuanian had said this with such confidence that Mu Bingyun had no choice but to believe her. "Then you?" I did not see him, Mu Xuanian said. When she finally turned back her gaze toward Mu Bingyun, her eyes had become exceptionally calm. He is doing very well over there. Even though he has lost his profound strength, there is nothing wrong with his body. Over there, he has parents and relatives who love and protect him. He has friends. He has his wives. And he even has an adorable daughter. All of the strongest auras and the best women in that world are on his side. There is no danger, no pressure, no enemies. There isn't even a single person who could threaten him. Even more than that, there isn't a master like me, a master who is always harsh and merciless towards him, a master who always scolds and berates him. Every single day he spends on his home planet is 100,000 times better than a single day he spent in the God realm. As such, why should we bother him again? But there are no buts. Mu Xuanian's gaze grew more and more clear and cold. Thinking that the heavenly slaughter star god is already dead is indeed something that will pain him for his entire life. But if he were to find out that she isn't dead, it would only be even more cruel to the current powerless him. I think that if the heavenly slaughter star god herself knew that Xianxia was still in this world, she would definitely hope that Xianxia would not find out she was still alive, and she would hope even more that Xianxia would not try to find her. Mu Bingyun's lips moved slightly, but upon seeing Mu Xuanian's cold expression, she did not know what to say. Compared to the situations he has found himself in over the past few years, his current situation is undoubtedly the best outcome for him. Let us just allow him to live on the planet he should have never left in the first place. He can live a life without worry or care, without disaster or trouble. We should not allow him to get embroiled again in the quarrels and grudges of the God realm. We should also not provoke any memories he has of the God realm. There can be no better outcome than this one. As those gloomy words entered their hearts, both sisters grew silent. In Xianxia's world, Jasmine had not transformed into the evil infant. Instead, she was already dead. Furthermore, to the best knowledge of the God realm, Xianxia was already dead as well. So this was indeed the best outcome for Xianxia. It would allow him to live a life free from danger, free from any longing or attachment to the God realm. It was just that. Big sister, have you truly decided to do this? Mu Bingyun asked in a very soft voice. Mu Xuanian's heart of ice, a heart of ice that had existed for 10,000 years, had been melted by Xianxia in a few short years. The pain and sorrow she would feel at this moment would be equivalent to how hard it was for her to even fall in love in the first place. From now on, I will no longer go to take that place, and you aren't ever allowed to go there either. Just treat it as if he had never appeared before, she said in a soft but resolute voice. She turned around and faced the cold pond in the center of the sacred hall. After you leave, announce these 3 things to the entire sect. 1. The heavenly Netherfrost Lake was opened up to prepare for the profound God convention. As a result, the heavenly lake has lost a great amount of spiritual energy. Starting from today, no one is allowed to open the heavenly Netherfrost Lake in the next 1,000 years, and all the elders, palace masters, and divine hall disciples will also not be allowed to enter that place. 2nd, Xianxia is already dead, so no one in the sect is to mention his name again. Otherwise, they will be punished severely. 3rd, take Mu Feixu as a direct disciple. Convene a grand sect meeting 7 days from now and undergo the discipleship ceremony. After listening to everything Mu Xuanian had to say, Mu Bingyun gave a faint nod of her head before slowly departing. Before she reached the palace doors, she looked outside. She saw that it was still snowing outside, and it had not stopped for several months. Mu Bingyun's footsteps halted yet again as she quietly glanced at the figure of Mu Xuanian's back. She sighed gloomily in her heart, but she did not say anything in the end. Instead, she silently left. Mu Xuanian faintly closed her eyes and remained motionless. A pure white ice feather spirit flower floated in the middle of the cold pond at the center of the sacred hall. In the waters of the heavenly Netherfrost Lake, it would never ever wilt. As the illusory demon realm's demon lord, as the spiritual master Yun, who had saved the profound sky continent, he was not only a legend to the rest of the profound way. He had long ago become a household name in both continents, and there was not a single person, whether it was the elderly or children, who did not know who he was. The news that Xianxia had returned from the world that existed at a higher plane spread like wildfire. But at the same time, rumors that his profound strength had been crippled, and that he had returned to being an ordinary person had also been spread. Since he had already accepted his crippled state, to the point where he was prepared for it to be like this for the rest of his life, and he would not hide from or run away from the truth, He had never stopped people from spreading these kinds of rumors. When the people beside him asked about it, he also would not try to hide it or avoid the subject. His parents were safe, his family was revitalized, he had wives and a daughter. Beauties surrounded him, and he had no enemies or worries. Compared to the heavy burdens he bore and great dangers he faced in the God realm, this sort of life was undoubtedly one that was extremely satisfying and comfortable to him. This was especially true in regards to the girls who were by his side. They were women that others would not even dare to dream of even if they had 10,000 lifetimes. In fact, his life was so satisfying that it was hard for him to notice the swift flow of time. Realm, or half a year if the time he spent out cold and resting was included as well. Half a year was a very short time, but his experiences in the God realm already felt like a distant past to him due to the calm and comfortable life he was able to lead. It felt almost like waking up from a long dream. Xianxia had spent most of his time in Demon Imperial City, although occasionally he would visit the profound sky continent as well. There were only so many places he could operate in without profound energy, and they were Demon Imperial City, Blue Wind Imperial City, Floating Cloud City, Frozen Cloud Asgard, and Divine Phoenix Sect. No longer running around and courting death wherever he went, Xianxia was able to spend much more time with his parents and his women. The life he currently led was drastically different from before as well. However, only he knew if he had truly adapted to his current physical state and lifestyle. Illusory Demon Realm, Demon Imperial City. The sun today was extremely bright and beautiful, and Xianxia was lying comfortably on his rattan chair, basking in the sunlight with half-lidded eyes at the courtyard. Thanks to a change of mindset and Su Linger's careful nursing, Xianxia's health had become much better compared to before. His skin and complexion were nothing like they used to look in the past, and he was dressed in luxurious clothes and followed by a beautiful maid at all times. It was something straight out of the standard life of an aristocratic son. Feng Xian'er was currently standing next to Xianxia, although she was acting unusually quiet and obedient. Occasionally, she would sneak a glance or two at Xianxia timidly. For the past while, she had obeyed the Phoenix Soul's request strictly and stayed by Xianxia's side at all times. Although she didn't understand the intention behind Lord Phoenix God's instructions, the idea didn't repulse her at all. On the contrary, she was very satisfied and pleased to be able to see him daily and stay by his side. Except during the nights, some of the strange noises that leaked out of the room never failed to surprise her and send her running red-faced. Feng Xian'er had grown up looking up to Xianxia for the past decade or so. When she had told him that he was the sky of her world that day, she hadn't been trying to console him. It was a belief that had truly come from the soul. She had heard countless legends about him on the continent, and she had never failed to feel a sense of indescribable joy for him every time someone praised or worshipped him. Even now, after Xianxia had become a powerless cripple, her longing for him still hadn't faded one bit. She couldn't say why herself. As Xianxia continued to lie comfortably on his rattan chair and bask in the sun, a certain thought passed through Feng Xian'er's mind not for the first time. I would be satisfied even if all I could ever be was a simple maid of his. Big brother Yun. Xianxia got up from his chair, let out a lazy yawn. You're here. Oh, little Yongen's here too? It was Xiao Yun and number 7 under heaven. They were holding hands with a young boy as they walked toward Xianxia. Xiao Yongen was almost 6 years old, but a bit of handsomeness was already starting to peek out of his features. The young boy stepped in front of Xianxia, got to his knees and kowtowed to him seriously, saying, Yongen pays his respect to Uncle Yun. Ayo! Xianxia hurriedly brought his nephew up to his feet and laughed. Little Yongen, I told you you don't need to kowtow to me. Just you being here is a great joy to me already. But Xiao Yongen said seriously, Daddy and Mommy said that Uncle Yun is Yongen's savior and benefactor. Therefore, not only must I kowtow to Uncle Yun, I should also show filial respect just like I will to Daddy and Mommy when I grow up. Ha 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 ha. Xianxia shook his head and poked his cute little face once. Such a cute and thoughtful boy. You're definitely my nephew. Big Bother Yun, number 7 under heaven, smiled at him. Your complexion has been getting better and better, I see. In fact, I think you've put on some weight. What? Wait, Xianxia was so shocked he nearly jumped. Then he ordered Xian'er in a most urgent tone. Xian'er, make sure to cut down my food portion by 30% starting from the next meal. I can lose my power but never my body shape. Feng Xian'er. 7th sister's just joking, big brother. You haven't put on any weight at all. Oh, thank goodness. Xiao Yun never lies, so Yun Qi believed him and let out a long sigh of relief. After he had relaxed, he asked, "So did you guys come here today to make idle chat, or is there something you need me for?" About that." Xiao Yun sneaked a glance at number 7 under heaven, and both parties actually turned red in the face at the same time. Then number 7 under heaven looked away purposefully, clear signaling that she wasn't going to be the one to talk about whatever it was they had come to talk with Yun Qi today. Xiao Yun hesitated for a long time before he finally mustered enough determination to ask Yun Qi, "Big brother, my question is, are there really divine profound practitioners everywhere in the God realm?" Number 7 under heaven nearly stumbled on her feet at that moment. She felt like slapping Xiao Yun on the back of his head. Their reactions didn't escape Yun Qi's eyes, and he answered the question in a deadpan manner. "Well, I wouldn't go that far, but it is true that achieving the divine way is just the beginning for a God realm profound practitioner. Just the beginning." Xiao Yun looked shocked, but he didn't know that Yun Qi's reaction had been worse when he first learned that divine origin realm experts were commonplace, and monarchs were lower than dogs in Snow Song realm. He explained, "In the God realm, our cultivation system, the one from elementary profound realm to sovereign profound realm, is known as the 9 mortal realms, whereas their cultivation system is known as the divine profound realm that transcends mortality. There are 7 stages to divine profound realm, starting from divine origin realm to divine master realm." "In that case, what stage is the phoenix goddess? Oh, sorry, I mean sister-in-law Feng, at in the divine way." Xiao Yun's eyes lit up slightly. "She should be quite high up in the divine profound realm, right?" "She is currently at the 3rd level of the divine origin realm and the bottom of the divine way," Yun Qi replied. "She hasn't even reached the mid-stage of divine origin realm." "Ha!" Xiao Yun was shocked yet again as disbelief riddled his face. "But she's the number 1 profound practitioner in both TGE profound sky continent and illusory demon realm. She may have been even more powerful than you were back then, big brother. How is this possible? You shouldn't compare them like this. Our world and their world are on 2 different planes," Yun Qi said. "If one day you have the chance to travel to the God realm and know their spirit energy or resources, you'll understand what I mean. Actually, you know what? It's better if you never go there. It's not a good place." Hu Poyun was born in a middle star realm, and he was able to participate in the conferred God battle because he was fortunate enough to obtain all of the Golden Crow spirit's inheritance. Although he had lost horribly in the middle, he had undoubtedly made history for the Flame God realm. If Yun Qi hadn't existed, he would have become the hero and legend of the Middle Star realms too. Feng Zuer's situation was identical to Hu Poyun's. If she had been born in the Flame God realm, her achievements wouldn't be lower than Hu Poyun's. In fact, if she were to head to Flame God realm right now, her bloodline was all she needed to make Yan Juhai, the Phoenix sect master, fall on his knees. Her profound strength might be nothing impressive, but her Phoenix bloodline was so pure that even Yun Qi couldn't match up to her. So how high did you reach, big brother?" Xiao Yun yet asked another question. "Were you at the late stage of divine origin realm, or further than that?" Yun Qi smiled and shook his head. "It doesn't matter, does it? It's all in the past. Why don't we talk about your business? Seriously, what are you here for? Why all the smoke and mirrors?" About that." Xiao Yun immediately turned awkward again when the business was brought up. I wanted to know if..." His eyes occasionally shifted to number 7 under heaven or Feng Zioner. His voice had become at least twice as soft. But despite stuttering for an incredible amount of time, he still failed to force a complete sentence out of his mouth. It was at this moment an incredibly true and melodious cry cut through the air. "Daddy!" Yun Wuxin appeared in the sky before falling towards Yun Qi like a bird. "Daddy, catch me!" Yun Qi's eyes lit up immediately when he saw his daughter. Xiao Yun completely thrown to the back of his mind, he turned around, stretched out, and subconsciously circulated his profound energy. Then he jumped into the air and got about 0.15 meter of the ground before crashing heavily on his butt. "Ah!" Yun Wuxin landed on her feet light as a feather before giving her father a hand. "Are you okay, Daddy? Why did you trip all of a sudden?" I'm fine. Yun Qi swiftly got up to his feet before swiping away the dust on his butt imperceptibly. "I was just careless and slipped on my feet. Why have you come alone today? Where are your master and your mom?" Yun Wuxin replied excitedly. "Master said that I've been improving at a tremendous rate, and as a reward she decided to send me home a bit earlier to keep Daddy company. Mom said she's going to stay in frozen Cloud Asgard for a couple of days, and that it's about time I start learning to be independent. She said that I shouldn't always stay glued to her. It's okay, you can stay glued to your daddy instead, Xianxia said with a smile. Chu Yuechan stretched her arms high and said, "Carry me, Daddy." Xianxia leaned down and lifted her delicate body up to his shoulders, smiling. "Why do you like being carried so much lately?" Chu Yuechan hugged her father's neck and leaned her head against his shoulders, giggling. "It's because I've missed 11 years of being carried by you, Daddy. I've got to catch up to them all, am I right?" "Hee, not a problem, I'll carry you for the whole day today." But Mom said that Daddy's body is weak right now. You'll get tired if you carry me for too long. At number %, don't listen to your mom's nonsense. Your daddy's plenty strong. Xiaoyun and number 7 under Heaven's eyes turned misty as they watched the father and daughter clinging close to one another. It was such a heartwarming scene that their hearts could melt. They muttered at the exact same time, "I want a daughter too." It'd be so nice to have a daughter. They looked at each other after the outburst, and number 7 under Heaven pinched Xiaoyun fiercely on his waist. "Then why didn't you say anything just now?" I'll say it right now, right now." Xiaoyun nodded like a pecking chick. The reason they had sought out Xianxia today was quite simple, actually. They wanted a second child. Neither of them had thought about having a second child at first. But after Chu Yuechan had returned to the Yun family with Xianxia and filled them with envy, their desire to have a daughter grew day by day. Back then, they had Xiaoyang all thanks to Xianxia's pill, which was why they had come to ask for the same thing again. However, Xiaoyun was easily embarrassed as a person, and Feng Zioner had been standing by Xianxia's side quietly. As a result, he had failed to put his request into words despite a long time. "Daddy, I want to head to Frozen Cloud Asgard. I'm starting to miss Auntie." Naturally, the auntie Chu Yuechan spoke up was none other than Chu Yuechan. "No problem, we will head there right away. It so happens that I'm starting to miss them as well." "Cough, big brother," Xiaoyun finally gathered his courage to say, "There's something Oh, Xiaoyun, as you can see I'm not free today, so we'll talk about this next time, okay?" After that, Xianxia waved him goodbye and started running towards a teleportation formation with his daughter still on his shoulders. "Ah, big brother." Xiaoyun froze with his hand still outstretched, a dumb look etched to his features. Feng Zioner's figure blurred and reappeared right behind Xianxia. Without her protection, Xianxia would freeze like a dog the instant he stepped into the snow region of extreme ice. Bang! Number 7 under Heaven stomped on Xiaoyun's foot fiercely and elicited a terrible scream from the man. She said angrily, "You men are all useless. I'll go talk with Sister Linger myself, HMPH." Xuanian, the group was greeted by a blast of cold, snowy wind the moment they entered the snow region of extreme ice, a land that was covered in wind and snow most of the time. Some time ago, the little demon Empress and Chu Yuechan's battle had wiped out Frozen Cloud Asgard and the accumulated snow in this region. But a few years' time was all it took for nature to cover this place in thick snow once more. In the distance, Frozen Cloud Asgard looked like a true Asgard of the snow. It gave off a fantastical, godlike impression even from this far, and it was able to drive away all blasphemous thoughts and human presence just by existing. In fact, Frozen Cloud Asgard had ascended to the head of the profound sky continent's 4 great sacred grounds after it was rebuilt. Countless profound practitioners had come to the snow region of extreme ice just to worship it from a distance, but none had dared to take even a step closer to the building. Feng Zioner's eyes flashed scarlet before a near-invisible red shield suddenly appeared around Xianxia, keeping the cold away from him. Meanwhile, Chu Yuechan was running toward Frozen Cloud Asgard like an excited bird, and crying out in a sweet voice that seemed to liven even the snow around her. "Mom, Auntie." The sky of the snow region of extreme ice was pure white. Standing above a snowy cloud, a pair of eyes penetrated the thick layers of snow and fell on Xianxia and the snowy region itself. "That is Frozen Cloud Asgard," Mu Xuanian muttered to herself. She knew that Mu Bingyun had built Frozen Cloud Asgard here after she had lost both her powers and her memories. She had left behind the Ice Phoenix God investiture canon even after she had regained both. Moreover, she had missed Frozen Cloud Asgard dearly despite having returned to her true home. This was the first time Mu Xuanian had seen Frozen Cloud Asgard with her own eyes. Mu Xuanian didn't know why she had come to this world in secret again, She had sworn to Mu Bingyun to forget about its existence and never visit it. But in just a few months, that promise had already been. It always snows when I come here. I could almost believe that they're welcoming me, Xianxia said narcissistically while raising his hands to feel the wind and the snow. Feng Ziner pursed up her lips and smiled. Everyone knows that young master is the reason why frozen cloud Asgard become a sacred ground. Naturally, it's the world's duty to welcome young master. Ha ha, Xianxia laughed loudly. You're getting better and better at praising, Ziner. No wonder my mother won't stop asking me when I'm taking in a new concubine. Feng Ziner turned red and bent her head downward instantly. Asgard master. A girl's excited voice came from the sky, and Xianxia looked up to find Murong Xianxia descending from the sky while holding hands with a very young girl. The little girl looked about the same size as Chu Yuechan, except her clothes were old and her eyes were slightly messy. However, her eyes looked as pure as crystal. When Murong Xianxia touched down in front of Xianxia, the girl immediately hid behind her back in fear. Senior Master Murong, Xianxia nodded before shooting a glance at the little girl. Is she your new disciple? Reporting to Asgard Master, Murong Xianxia said respectfully. We found her in the northern regions. Her parents perished during a profound beast rampage, and she has nowhere to go. I noticed that she was extremely talented, so I brought her back here for Ling Jie to raise. Oh, I see. Xianxia nodded before his tone suddenly turned helpless. I told you many times already that I'm not your Asgard master. You don't have to act so respectfully around Sai. Forget it. Just do what you want. I'm sure you all wouldn't listen even if I were to repeat this another 10,000 times. A faint smile crossed Murong Xianxia's face before she pulled the little girl gently into the open. Xuanian, this here is our great Asgard master. Xianxia trembled violently all of a sudden before blurting. What did you call her? Xianxia's drastic reaction and changes in expression caught Murong Xianxia completely off guard. The little girl was so frightened that she hid behind Murong Xianxia's back again. Reporting to Asgard Master, Murong Xianxia replied hurriedly. This girl was born on a profound moon, and I happened to find her at the second Asgard mistress, birthplace, who was named Xianxia. That is why I'd named her Xuanian. Is there something wrong with this name? Realizing that he had lost control over his emotions, Xianxia inhaled slightly before shaking his head with a smile. No, on the contrary, it is a very, very good name. Murong Xianxia. Xianxia bent down to his knees and stared seriously at the timid, fearful girl. Then both his eyes and his voice turned very gentle. Little Xuanian, you must have had a difficult time, haven't you? But everything's fine now. There are no bad guys here, and no one will ever bully you again from here on. And even if there is someone, come to me and I'll teach them a lesson for you, so don't be afraid, okay? Murong Xianxia raised her eyebrows slightly in surprise. His gentle voice and gaze seemed to wipe away the fear and panic in the little girl's heart without a sound. She stared at Xianxia before nodding very slightly. After that, Xianxia got up and said, Senior Master Murong, I don't think you need to pass her to Ling Jie. My suggestion is for you to take her in yourself. What do you think? Murong Xianxia was surprised yet again, but she replied immediately, If this is the Asgard Master's orders, then I shall take her in as my direct disciple. She may not have any foundation whatsoever, but her talents are among the top. I'm sure that her future will not disappoint. Amen, Xianxia nodded. His heart and soul had been filled with a different kind of emotion since hearing that name, so he half turned away and said, Take her back to the Asgard. Asgard Master, what about you? I need to think on some things. I'll come over shortly, Xianxia replied. Yes, Murong Xianxia answered before sending a sound transmission to Feng Ziner. Sorry to trouble you, but please protect our Asgard Master, Miss Ziner. After that, Murong Xianxia left Xianxia with the girl. However, she was feeling far more puzzled than when she had first arrived. Asgard Mistress, the little girl asked carefully in a small voice. Who is he? Murong Xianxia said. Have you heard of the name Xianxia? The girl's eyes lit up before she nodded strongly. I have. Daddy and Mommy used to say that he is the greatest man in the world, and that he's the one who saved our country. That's right, Murong Xianxia nodded slightly. Your parents are right. He's still the greatest man in the world even after he had lost his powers. From here on, you won't be calling me Asgard Mistress any longer. Just call me Master. Maz Tur, did you know? Murong Xianxia turned to look at the little girl before whispering, Thanks to what he had said earlier, you'll never be bullied again for as long as you live. The little girl's lips parted in confusion and helplessness. Xuanian, Murong Xianxia thought quietly to herself. Why had the name triggered such a large reaction in him? Meanwhile, Ling Jie was sitting on the snow and staring at the seemingly endless world of white. For a long time, he just stayed there unmoving. "What's wrong, young master?" Feng Xianer asked softly. Ling Jie looked dazed and not entirely present. "I'm starting to miss master. Will we never meet again during this life?" "Master?" Feng Xianer looked even more confused. It was because there was no one in her memory who was deserving of that title from this man. Up atop the clouds, an icy blue figure turned away from the scene with slightly trembling shoulders, unable to stop herself until a very, very long time later, in the end. When the wind started growing stronger and stronger, she finally went away in silence. Time passed quickly, and a couple more months passed by in the blink of an eye. Western Divine Region, Dragon God Realm at the Forbidden Land of Samsara. "So, there has been no progress whatsoever?" Xianxia asked as some of the most common words spilled out of her lips. However, it didn't change the fact that her voice was the most intoxicating and uplifting voice in the world. The dragon monarch was standing next to her with his brows tightly furrowed. Although the evil infant disaster had started at the Eastern Divine Region, it was such a terrible threat that no star realm could choose to not get involved with it. The fact that the dragon monarch had shown up meant that he was going to lead, and no one else. No matter how perfect a concealment is, it must leave some traces behind, the dragon monarch said. However, not only has she not shown up at the god realm of absolute beginning since the day of the sighting, we haven't found even a trace or aura. Moreover, those primordial beasts are more sensitive towards darkness, profound energy than us, and yet none of them have shown any signs of disturbance thus far. Xianxia said softly, "You mean, I'm suspecting that she hasn't entered the god realm of absolute beginning at all?" The dragon monarch continued, "It is very likely that the traces she left behind back then were just something to lead us astray." Xianxia, "All three divine regions have laid down the order to every star realm to seek out any presence of darkness, profound energy," the dragon monarch said with cool, dark eyes. "Moreover, the search isn't limited to just the Eastern Divine Region. The search will extend to the Southern Divine Region, the Western Divine Region, and even the lower star realms which number the greatest. Anyone who discovers any trace of darkness, profound energy will be rewarded handsomely." "You're suspecting that the evil infant is hiding in the lower realms?" Xianxia asked. "It has almost been a year since the evil infant escaped," the dragon monarch said heavily. "A year is enough time for her to recover much power and grow even deadlier. Right now, we are not in a position where we can afford to let slip any possibility at all." "What does the heavenly mystery realm of the Eastern Divine Region say?" The dragon monarch shook his head. "Even if we suppose that the evil infant has only recovered a minuscule amount of strength, it is still in existence higher than even the heavens. There is no way the heavenly mystery three elders would be able to find anything even if they were to exhaust all of their lifespan." "I understand," Xianxia nodded. Since she lived in the forbidden land of Samsara, most of her knowledge of the outside world had come from the dragon monarch. "It looks like you'll not have a day's peace until the evil infant is eliminated. You may go." After the dragon monarch had left, Xianxia looked towards the distance and said to herself, "The crimson crack, the emergence of the evil infant, and his appearance, will the world's fate be shuffled once more? Mother, mother." It was at this moment a childish voice reached Xianxia's ears and heart. "Is he a bad person?" Xianxia smiled. "Of course not. He's the best of our clansmen and his heart is firmly in the right place. Besides that, he respects me highly and would never do anything to hurt me. So how can he possibly be a bad person? But if that's the case, then why do you always tell me to stay quiet every time he shows up?" Still wearing her smile, Xianxia replied gently, "It is because he holds a certain desire he shouldn't have towards me. He cannot let it go even though he knows that it is impossible and he himself isn't demanding it." "Ah, once upon a time this wouldn't have mattered to me in the slightest. But after I'd got to know your father, Mother has no choice but to consider it seriously." "Why's that?" "That is because a person's nature and heart are unpredictable," she said quietly. "A person's nature, heart, I don't understand." "You're still young, of course you don't understand." Xianxia looked down at her belly. The gentleness and love residing in her eyes were wonderful enough to make the entire world succumb for eternity. "Mother will be free in another 8 years. When that happens, I'll be able to give birth to you. When that happens, Mother will reward your patience with everything that is beautiful as this world, so please wait for another 8 years, okay?" "Amen. I will listen to Mother and learn all of the knowledge you want to teach me before I'm born." Lai was someone who cherished the past, and he was still used to staying with the floating cloud city's Xiao family. Ling Jie would come every once in a while and stay for a few days. This place was his small courtyard. It contained countless memories for him and Xiao Lingxi. His experiences in the God realm already seemed like a distant memory to him, but the more than a decade of time he had spent with Xiao Lingxi still shone in his mind like it was yesterday. Master said that your profound veins are extremely strained, and that they are completely different from a normal person's profound veins. That also means that we will be unable to use normal methods to repair them. During this period of time, he has checked many medical books, but he was not able to find anything. However, there isn't any need to be too worried. Master often says that there is no illness in this world that cannot be treated. It is just that we have not found the method to treat it yet. Su Linger was waiting upon Ling Jie, and once he had finished his medicinal bath, she said those words with a gentle voice as she helped him put on his clothes. Ling Jie shook his head and laughed as he said, "Tell him that I'm really not bothered by this, and that he does not need to expend so much effort to try and help me." Su Linger gave a small laugh as she said, "It's not like you don't understand Master's temperament, right? He loves medicine to the point of foolishness, so when he finally encounters a rare problem that is hard to solve, he will only become more focused on it. You also don't need to be so pessimistic. Master is so powerful, so maybe no, that's not right. He will definitely be able to find a way." "Amen, you're right." Ling Jie nodded his head, but he did not explain. He was well aware that an existence like the evil god's profound veins could not be awakened by normal means. Su Linger's hands remained on his chest even after she had helped him fasten his robes. Then she faintly raised her delicate face to look at the him who was right in front of her. Su Linger's eyes grew more and more misty and forlorn. Her delicate body leaned forward, its soft suppleness leaning against his chest. "The fact that you are able to be here by my side, safe and sound, is truly a good thing." Her beautiful eyes closed as she softly said, "During that period of time, I was really very afraid." Ling Jie extended a hand to hug her as he said apologetically, "I know that I definitely must have made all of you worried during the 4 years I was in the God realm." "You weren't aware of this," but Su Linger shook her head while she was in his embrace. "The day you left, Big Sister Lingxi passed out for a while, and after that, she would pass out every once in a while. Sometimes it would be once every month, sometimes it would be once every few days." "What?" Ling Jie's brows furrowed. "Lingxi, why didn't anybody tell me about this?" Su Linger comforted Ling Jie by gently rubbing his chest as she gave him a small smile. "She was afraid that you would be worried, so she did not allow any of us to tell you. Furthermore, ever since you came back, she hasn't fainted again, and it was only because of this that I even dared to mention it in the first place." "Ling Jie, she was clearly far too worried about you. Furthermore, every single time she fainted, she would have a nightmare. Furthermore, it was the same nightmare, and every single time she woke up, it was also because she had been startled awake by that very same nightmare." "What nightmare?" Ling Jie unconsciously asked. "She said that she dreamed that you were covered in blood in a world filled with starlight and your body was riddled with holes. And in the end, you were turned into ashes in a mass of scarlet flames," Su Linger said softly. Ling Jie was safe and sound in front of her, so it was natural that she could now calmly describe those scenes which she had not even dared to imagine before. Ling Jie was extremely shocked. During that period of time, she was very afraid. Even though I kept comforting her by telling her that her dreams weren't real in the end, I was also very afraid as well. A long time had passed, and she did not hear Ling Jie reply. If she raised her head at this moment, she would discover that Ling Jie's eyes had gone blank with astonishment. It was only after a long period of time that he finally recovered some of his senses and said with a smile, "All of these dreams are naturally fake. Don't you worry, I guarantee that I will be well-behaved and honest from now on. All of you won't have to worry about me anymore. Starlight, covered in blood, riddled with holes, scarlet flames, turning into ashes. A coincidence, it was definitely a coincidence. Where's Lingxi?" he asked almost subconsciously. Su Linger extracted herself from his embrace, a teasing and mischievous light flashing through her beautiful eyes. "I just asked her to help me bathe you in your medicinal bath, but she ran away instead. Long before you departed to the God realm, Grandfather Xiao already personally acknowledged your relationship, yet you actually haven't made a move on her, even now. This is something that totally isn't like you, you know." Ling Jie's expression was slightly embarrassed, and he spoke in a rather bashful voice. Ling Jie and I grew up together, so we are far too familiar with each other. It's not easy to make a move on her. HMPH, you're so protective towards her, but you're so bad to the rest of us. Su Linger pouted in mock anger as her beautiful eyes turned towards him slightly. It can't be that you're afraid Grandfather Xiao will rebuke you, right? Xianxia nodded his head and admitted the point. There is that one thing. PFFFT he. Su Linger said with a smile, right now, Grandfather Xiao is busy playing with Yongan every single day. He doesn't have the time to be bothered about you. For all you know, he might be eagerly waiting for big sister Ling Jie to give birth to a grandchild for him sooner rather than later. Her eyes suddenly brightened at this moment. Do you want me to prepare some medicine for you? No, 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 no. Xianxia waved his hands in a fluster. I'll do it myself, I'll do it myself. After he exited the courtyard, Xianxia's brows sank slightly as he sank into deep thought. That dream of Xiao Ling Jie's. That nightmare had started from the day he had departed for the God realm, which meant that it had started 4 years ago, and she kept dreaming of the same nightmare for 4 straight years. She fainted every time before when she had this nightmare, and even Su Linger could not tell why she had kept fainting. Furthermore, the dream which Su Linger had used just a few words to describe. Shockingly enough, it exactly described the location where he died and how he had died. It had even exactly described the fiery nirvana that had happened after his death. He vaguely felt an indescribable strangeness. But he was the person who understood Xiao Ling Jie the most in this world. He had been accompanying her from the very day she was born, and the two of them had grown up together. Her personality and temperament were pure and weak. Her talent in the profound way was middling, and she also did not have any goals or desires regarding the profound way. Among the women by his side, no matter whether it was natural aptitude, cultivation, appearance, origin, or status, she was the most ordinary of them all. The irreplaceable thing that they had was that they were childhood sweethearts who had grown up together, and they had feelings for one another that could never be erased. Besides it being a complete coincidence, there was no other explanation that could possibly explain this. However, if he had to think of something that was unusual. At this moment, Xianxia's footsteps halted, and he suddenly thought of that piece of mysterious black jade that he had retrieved from the body of the Moon Slaughter Devil Sovereign. Back then, no matter whether it was him or Jasmine, that piece of black jade would not respond to any method they tried or any power they tried to insert into it. Yet it would give off a bizarre reaction any time Xiao Ling Jie drew near to it, causing rows of incomparably bizarre words to appear in the air. Xianxia did not understand those words at all, yet Xiao Ling Jie could understand every single one of them. What was even more bizarre than this was that she herself did not have a clue as to why she would recognize and understand these words, because she had also never seen anything like these words before, yet she could naturally understand them. She called these words the world-defying heavenly manual, and translated and read out each and every word for him. These words seemed to be some sort of scripture, but also seemed to be some sort of profound formula. Furthermore, they were suddenly cut off at the end, so it was clear that it was not complete. He had given this explanation to Xiao Ling Jie at that time. His explanation was that it was possible that this piece of black jade had a very strong spiritual energy which happened to be compatible with her aura. So it reacted to her and formed a soul connection with her, thus allowing her to recognize those words. However, those words were only used to comfort Xiao Ling Jie, used to dispel the panic that Xiao Ling Jie felt at the time because she did not know what was happening. At the same time, he had also said those words to explain it to himself. Yet this was a forced explanation that even he could not bring himself to believe. But apart from this, he could think of no other reason. As he silently thought about this, the scripture that Xiao Ling Jie had translated for him and that he had memorized in his heart suddenly floated up in his mind. At the beginning of the primordial universe, the start of primal chaos, there was no order in the universe, no separation between light and darkness. The heavenly law was the binding that held the origin power of the universe together. At this moment, Xianxia's steps came to a sudden halt. From a certain moment onwards, a moment that Xianxia had not sensed at all, the scripture of the world-defying heavenly manual that had appeared in his mind had actually started to resound like the peals of large bell that shook his heart and soul with every word. Barren in the first era, boundless after 100 eras and endlessly flourishing after myriads forth. The stars formed the universe, the fallen heaven formed the realms. All that was extraordinary were in opposition, all prosperity was mere illusion. Every single word resounded in the sea of his soul like the world-shaking peals of a heavenly bell. They also opened up a boundlessness that came from a distant era. One will to sainthood and another will to become fallen. All desires are nothingness. Wrath is sin, envy is sin, lust is sin, greed is sin, sloth is sin. End of all that is living, home of all of creation. Yuan Qi's eyes stared blankly as the world in his vision grew dimmer and dimmer before disappearing completely. His vision went completely white before it turned into a boundless darkness. Only the words from the heavenly manual remained, words that were resounding in his world like the peals from a large and ancient bell. The courtyard door was pushed open, and Ling Jie, who was dressed all in green, entered with light steps. Upon seeing Yuan Qi, her eyebrows arced up. "Little Qi, how come you're alone by yourself? Where is Linger?" However, she did not receive any reply from Yuan Qi. Yuan Qi was facing her, and he was no more than a few steps away from her. Yet he had not made any reaction when she had appeared, nor had he responded to the words she had said. He was simply staring straight forward with fixed eyes that completely lacked any focus or expression. "Eh?" Ling Jie let out a small cry of surprise. She thought that Yuan Qi was teasing her, so she skipped forward and poked his body lightly. "Little Qi, ah." Yuan Qi had not reacted to her light poke at all. Instead, he had simply fallen over backwards like a wooden log. She let out a cry of alarm as she hurriedly rushed forward to support Yuan Qi. "Little Qi, what's wrong with you?" "Little Qi," she cried out to him again and again, but Yuan Qi still remained in a complete daze. He had not reacted to any of her actions, his gaze remaining blank throughout. It was as if he had lost his soul. Ling Jie started to panic, but it was at this moment that Feng Ziner descended from the skies like a bolt of lightning. She supported him together with Ling Jie as she said, young master, what's wrong with you?" "Linger, hurry up and call Linger," Ling Jie said in an anxious voice. The Zio family's abode was not big to begin with, so Su Linger was also very near to where they were. As Ling Jie was crying out in alarm, she was already hurrying over. She did not need to wait for Feng Ziner to call for her. After they had propped Yuan Qi up, Su Linger tapped a finger against Yuan Qi's chest. Profound energy swiftly circulated through his entire body, but it did not find anything abnormal. After pondering the situation for a brief moment, she suddenly took out a sound transmission jade and sent a sound transmission to Feng Zuer. "Sister Zuer, come quickly to the Zio family abode. There's something wrong with big brother Yuan Qi." After a few short breaths, Feng Zuer's figure had appeared within the Zio family abode. Following a flash of red light, she appeared right in front of Yuan Qi. After she scrutinized Yuan Qi's condition for a while, Feng Zuer's pink lips opened slightly and a puzzled expression appeared on her face. She glanced at Ling Jie and both of them saw an expression of disbelief on the other's face. "What's going on with little Qi? What exactly is going on?" Ling Jie said in an anxious voice, tears faintly trembling in her eyes. "Big brother Yuan, he seems to have entered a state of enlightenment," Feng Zuer said with some hesitation. Ling Jie was stunned by those words. Enlightenment. A similar expression of disbelief appeared on Feng Ziner's face. But young master already does not have profound strength anymore, and even his profound veins are. So how could he enter a state of enlightenment? This is indeed out of the ordinary, Su Linger said as her delicate brows knitted together. However, his mental condition has indeed entered the state of enlightenment that is most commonly seen in the profound way. After she finished speaking, she gave Ling Jie a comforting look. Even though it is a bit strange, no matter whether it is the condition of his body or his heart and soul, everything is completely normal. So there's no need to worry, we just need to wait for him to wake up and everything will be fine. Because enlightenment served as the place where the profound way could be comprehended, it was something that could not be sought after. It could only be encountered by luck. However, without profound strength, and even without profound veins, one naturally did not have any place in the profound way. So how could one enter this state of enlightenment? However, the current Yuan Qi had indeed entered a state of enlightenment. Furthermore, it was an incomparably bizarre state of enlightenment. Ling Jie had translated the world-defying heavenly manual for him word for word back then. He had truly felt like he was listening to some heavenly tome being read out loud. He had not understood half of what he had heard. It was only those few instants when he felt his soul stir lightly, which caused him to start to suspect that this was possibly a profound formula rather than some scripture. When it came to the comprehension of the profound way, if he claimed he was the best, no one in this world would dare to claim he was second best instead. His comprehension could be said to be so strong that it scared even him. From the Yun family's purple cloud art to the world ode of the Phoenix, and the Golden Crow record of the burning world, profound arts that had been left behind by a true god. Other people would need an untold number of years' worth of accumulation and comprehension, along with some luck, before they could enter the state of enlightenment for even just an instant. However, Ling Jie just needed to take a few glances at a profound formula, and he would be able to directly sink into that state. Everyone who had witnessed this before, Jasmine, Xia Qingyu, Yun Qinghong, Mu Xuanian, Keizai, and Shen Zai, there was not a single one of them who had not been deeply astonished by this. It could basically be said that there was no profound art that he could not cultivate. It was only a matter of Ling Jie's choice. In the past, Jasmine had even said something to him in an extremely strange tone of voice. Even the ancient evil god was not this capable. There was only one exception, and that was the scripture of the world-defying heavenly manual that Xiao Lingxi had translated for him, something that he had also memorized by heart. However, he could not make heads or tails of the thing. As a result, he was even more convinced that this was truly only an obscure and hard-to-understand scripture, and he had not paid any attention to it over the past few years. But it was on this very day that this scripture, which he had very nearly forgotten, brought him to an incomparably bizarre world. Enlightenment. A moment in the profound way that was extremely rare and precious, a moment that a profound practitioner might not even enter in 1,000 years. Yet Ling Jie had entered this realm of enlightenment many times in his life. When he forcefully cultivated the world ode of the Phoenix in the past, he felt as if his heart and soul had entered a world of fire, and he had been able to sense the laws of fire unique to the Phoenix with an incomparable clarity. When he had been comprehending the frozen end divine art, it felt as if he had been plunged into an icy hell, and every corner of his soul and his profound veins had been flooded with extremely high-level laws of ice. When he was comprehending the Golden Crow's record of the burning world, there was a gigantic and tyrannically powerful ancient Golden Crow flying around in his world. A Golden Crow which rained down apocalyptic fires on the rest of the world. The realm of enlightenment for every single profound art was a world of laws and principles which one's heart and soul would sink into. It was also a precious moment when one could truly come into contact with the core laws and principles of said profound art. A world of flames, a world of lightning, a world of swords, a world of destruction. But at this very moment, the world that Ling Jie's heart and soul had sunk into was actually a world of nothingness. This world was a sea of darkness, no, a feeling that sprang out of nowhere, a feeling that could not be denied, told him that this was not darkness. Instead, it was the completely empty void. There were no living beings, no dead beings, no sound, and there was even no time or space. He could not sense the existence of anything else. In fact, he could not even sense his own existence. Where is this place? It seemed as if this place only had eternal darkness, eternal emptiness, eternal silence, and he stood at the very center of this empty world. He did not know where he was, he did not know where he was going, and he did not know how he could leave. But the good thing was that his will still remained and he could still think. What exactly is going on? How was I suddenly thrust into such a world? Could it be that this is an empty hole inside my soul? All of a sudden, a flash of light appeared in this empty world. It was the figure of a person, a figure that seemed as distant as the horizons but also seemed to be close enough to touch. The figure was as illusory as a dream, as swiftly fleeting as mist. But from that indistinct outline, he could vaguely make out that this was the figure of a woman. Moreover, it seemed to be a completely naked woman. Who are you? Where is this place? He wanted to ask those questions, but he could not make a sound. But at this moment, a woman's voice rang out in this world that had been completely empty. This place is the beginning of the primordial universe, the starting point of the primal chaos, and it is also the origin of all the laws and principles of the universe. He was unable to describe just what kind of voice it was. It was a woman's voice, and it was very soft and gentle. Every syllable spoken by this voice would be able to instantly capture the soul of any living being. It sounded so good that it left one unable to believe that such a voice actually existed in this word. It should not exist even in a dream or the celestial realm. Who are you? He desperately tried to release his will. He could sense that she was able to read his thoughts. But she did not reply, and every corner of Ling Jie's soul was once again engulfed by that terrifying, beautiful voice. The law of water, the law of fire, the law of wind, the law of lightning, the law of earth. These are the 5 most basic elemental laws of the primal chaos realm. The law of light, life. The law of darkness, death. These are the high-grade elemental laws which stand above the 5 basic elemental laws. The law of space dimension. The law of time, reincarnation. These are the supreme laws of creation which stand above the elemental laws. And the origin of all of these laws, the law which stands above the supreme laws, the law of nothingness. Xianxia felt as if he was listening to some arcane heavenly tome. Having experienced life and death, having stepped across the dimensions and reincarnation itself, there is finally a living creature who has come into contact with the law of nothingness that even the creation gods themselves have never come into contact with before. Xianxia, law of nothingness. Regarding the you who is able to come into contact with the law of nothingness, I am already unable to see your destiny clearly. Go and find the other 2 parts of the world-defying heavenly manual. I eagerly await the day that I am truly able to meet with you. WAH. The figure of light faded away, and the empty world in front of him suddenly vanished without a sound. The anxious and concerned faces of Ling Jie, Su Linger, and the rest of them suddenly materialized in Xianxia's vision. When Xianxia's eyes regained their focus, Feng Zuer crowed in delight. "Big brother Yun, you're finally awake." Xianxia shook his head, his expression dazed. "What exactly happened just now?" Su Linger asked. "Just now it looked as if you had suddenly entered a state of enlightenment, but—" Enlightenment. Xianxia's eyebrows drew back as he grimaced. The stillness of his heart and soul that he had just experienced had indeed been the realm of enlightenment. He had suddenly entered the realm of enlightenment because of the verses from the world-defying heavenly manual. But he clearly no longer had any profound strength, and even his profound veins were in a state of death, so how could enlightenment occur? Furthermore, when he still had his profound strength back then, he had not gained anything from these verses, but now that he had lost all of his strength, he could suddenly enter a state of enlightenment. The law of nothingness. Xianxia unconsciously muttered those words under his breath, the law of nothingness. Feng Zuer and the rest were puzzled by those words. They did not know what these words meant, nor had they ever heard these words before. Xianxia raised his head and finally came back to his senses. Upon seeing that all the girls around him wore worried looks on their faces, he hurriedly smiled while he comforted them. "Nothing's wrong. I probably did indeed enter a state that was not much different from enlightenment just now. It was due to a profound formula that I read many years ago. I was not able to understand it back then, but for some odd reason, I was suddenly able to comprehend it." "Then that's fine." Ling Jie finally managed to breathe a sigh of relief as she gently stroked his chest. Feng Zuer nodded her head, but her phoenix brows were faintly knitted. She was not Ling Jie, whose understanding of the profound way was very shallow. Xianxia's words went against the most basic logic of the profound way. Enlightenment of the profound way. If it was not in the profound way, then where was this enlightenment coming from? However, since Xianxia had already said such a thing, she would naturally not pursue it. "Big brother Xianxia, go and rest for a while first. After that, I will give your body a proper inspection. If I don't, all of them won't be able to stop worrying," Su Linger said with a faint smile. All right." Xianxia returned to his room and lay on his bed. Su Linger knelt by his side, her hands gently massaging his entire body. He closed his eyes, and in that silence, those bizarre verses and that voice which came from that empty world continued to resound in his mind without ceasing. The laws of space and time were the highest level of laws known to the profound way. This was not limited only to the modern era. Even in the ancient era of the gods, these 2 laws were still the highest laws known to the universe. This was especially true of the latter law, and the number of true gods who could even slightly control the laws of time could be counted on one's fingers. But in that empty world, that ethereal and illusory female voice had spoken of a law of nothingness. She had said it was a law higher than the law of space and the law of time. She had said it was the origin of all laws and principles that govern the universe. If anyone had said this sort of thing, the people who heard it would immediately treat it as complete bullshit. But the voice that existed in that empty world actually had some sort of strange, bewitching quality to it, and it left him completely trusting her words. Or perhaps it would be better to say that he felt as if he was being compelled to trust her words. Every single word and sentence she had spoken seemed to have been transformed into invisible brands which were deeply carved into his soul. Brands that he could not resist or erase. They had become part of the way he perceived and conceived the world in the most basic and fundamental fashion. It was on the level of basic concepts like, I am a man, and my fingers can bend. Having experienced life and death, having stepped across the dimensions and reincarnation itself. The law of nothingness. The law of nothingness. An incomparably vague and fuzzy feeling appeared in his mind, and no matter how hard he tried to focus his mind or concentrate, he could not think clearly. It seemed as if it was just right in front of him, but no matter how hard he tried to stretch out his hand, he was unable to touch it. The law of nothingness. What exactly was it? That's right, that voice said that the world-defying heavenly manual was comprised of 3 parts. He had probably obtained only one of those parts, and if he was able to obtain the other 2, would it be possible for him to glimpse at what the law of nothingness truly was? Wait a minute, and who was she exactly? Why did she say that she looked forward to meeting me? Was she not simply a soul sound in that empty world, and that she actually still existed in this universe? Why was I able to enter the realm of enlightenment of the world-defying heavenly manual when I clearly do not have any profound strength anymore? Xian Jie closed his eyes, his mind filled with an endless amount of confusion and an endless amount of questions. While in deep thought, he had unwittingly fallen asleep. Perhaps it was because that bizarre realm of enlightenment had taxed the mental fortitude of the current Xian Jie far too intensely. But Xian Jie slept really deeply this time around. By the time he woke up, the sky had already gone dark. He sat up from his bed and stretched lazily. After that, he immediately felt bright and refreshed. At this moment, the room door was lightly pushed open, and Xianxia entered with gentle steps. She was carrying the outer garments that had been washed for Xian Jie. When her beautiful eyes alighted on the Xian Jie who had gotten up, they instantly brightened. "Little Jie, you've actually already awake." "Amen, I just woke up." Xian Jie got off the bed and looked at Xianxia. Su Linger's words immediately flashed through his mind, and his gaze grew somewhat heated. At this moment, an urge that he did not want to endure surged up in his body, a body that had not partaken in any carnal activity for close to 16 hours. He suddenly lunged forward, and as Xianxia let out a startled cry, he pressed her against the room door that had just been closed. Xian Jie's body was tightly pressed against her soft bosom, and his face had also very nearly touched her jade mien. She could clearly feel his hot breath against her face. In this moment, Xianxia's heart had been thrown into complete disarray as she said in a timid voice, "Little Jie, you, oomph." Just as the words left Xianxia's mouth, her fragrant lips were roughly kissed by Xian Jie. All of the sounds she was making immediately dissolved into powerless whimpers. After that, she let out another startled cry, but she had already been picked up at the waist by Xian Jie, who then proceeded to push her down on the bed. Xian Jie was never the type to only talk the talk and not walk the walk. When it came to Xianxia, however, he had nothing but the most special of feelings for her. She was his most precious and protected, someone he would never even allow the slightest threat of harm to come to. As a result, even though Xianxia had long ago personally consented to a relationship between Xian Jie and Xianxia, add on the fact that it was plain for everyone else to see and understand, and even the fact that Xianxia would never vehemently reject him, he still didn't really ever wish to obtain Xianxia. Even the 2 peak existences of both continents, the little demon empress and Feng Zuer had succumbed to the villainous hands of Xian Jie, yet Xianxia remained chaste. What Su Linger had said today had no doubt impacted Xian Jie. Xianxia's lips were as soft as flower petals and smooth to the touch. At this very moment, both of Xian Jie's hands landed at the belt of her garments. Xianxia started moaning. Her breathing started getting heavier as she gently gasped for each breath. Her eyebrows were ever so gently tensing up, her skin turning a shade of red all over. Her eyes looked like they were lost, in a daze of ecstasy. Her belt had already been pulled off by Xian Jie. The jade clasps at her skirt were being unbuttoned one by one. He slipped his other hand into her garments, slowly stroking the contours of her side. The physical contact of skin against skin caused Xianxia's pupils to jump, her eyes growing wider as she started moaning even louder. She didn't resist. The only sign of tension was her body quivering in response. Her undergarments were stripped away as a strange sensation started to spread across her body. Those 2 hands that were invading her started to grow hotter and hotter until she could feel that all her clothes had been stripped away by Xian Jie, her body flawless like jade, utterly exposed beneath him. Her hips started to sway gently by themselves as the sound of heavy breathing started to be heard. Her face was flushed and her eyes were glazed. But she suddenly felt Xian Jie come to an abrupt stop, and this stop was pretty long, not some mere pause. Lingxi slowly opened her eyes. Both of Yun Qi's hands were still holding onto her breasts, but they weren't moving. The sight in front of her was something strange that she couldn't understand. "Little Qi," she whispered gently in a voice that could melt the soul. Yun Qi's entire body shook, and he suddenly left Lingxi's body, then turned and fled. Bang! It was the sound of the room door slamming shut. The world became silent. The air from the warm, sensual atmosphere all around was rapidly cooling. It even held a hint of chill within it. Lingxi, who was out of sorts, pulled a quilt over herself, covering her snowy jade-like body, while a disappointed and dispirited look appeared across her face. She was undoubtedly clear that all the girls by Yun Qi's side were stellar and spectacular, especially Feng Zuer and the little demon empress. Both of them were magnificent, and perhaps no other girl in both continents could ever dream of measuring up to them. Even in Demon Imperial City, many royal families and guardian families had time and again visited the Yun family, explicitly expressing the wish to be in-laws, even if it were that of a concubine or even to become a maidservant. And those that came were the daughters of kings and nobles. When it came to talent, cultivation, family background, position, looks, right down to her very bones, she was unable to compare to them. And with regards to them, Yun Qi had never ever accepted. Furthermore, she was clearly aware that amongst the women by Yun Qi's side, she could be considered the most ordinary of them all in utterly every aspect. Feng Zuer was now known as the Phoenix Divine Goddess, while the little demon empress was the empress of the illusory demon realm. Kang Yue was the queen of the Blue Wind Nation, while Su Linger was the direct disciple of the medical saint. Chu Yuechan was once considered the #1 beauty of all in Profound Sky, and she even had a daughter with Yun Qi. And when it came to her, she had nothing else to offer, apart from the feelings and closeness they had from growing up together. Even the constantly following and serving by his side Feng Zioner, having the status of being only just a maidservant. Feng Zioner was superior to her in every way. She could feel the love Yun Qi had for her, and even a sort of unique attachment they had. Even the greatest psychological and emotional barrier, Xiao Lai, had already given them his blessings. Furthermore, Yun Qinghang and Mu Yuru loved and treated her well. Even the other girls, Feng Zuer, Little Demon Empress Kang Yu, Su Linger, all treated her as one of theirs. But he had never touched her. In fact, she did mind this much. In fact, Su Linger, whom she was closest to, also sensed this, and therefore often hinted to Yun Qi with regards to this matter. Now Yun Qi had just suddenly up and run. This cast a heavy shadow across her heart. Yun Qi quickly put his clothes in order and hurriedly rushed out the courtyard's door, nearly coming into a head-on collision with Su Linger. "Big brother Yun Qi, you!" Upon seeing Yun Qi's fuming face, Su Linger couldn't help but reveal a look of surprise. Yun Qi quickly grabbed Su Linger's hand. "Linger, I was just about to look for you about something." Before he carried on, he swept the perimeter with his eyes. Only after ascertaining that no one was around did he speak in a hushed but panicked tone. "I have a big problem just now, me and Lingxi. We were actually going to, but suddenly, it just went limp and had no reaction." "No reaction?" Su Linger confusedly blinked her eyes, only to suddenly realize what he meant, and then she held her sides and let out a laugh. "You're still laughing." Yun Qi's current face was not your ordinary black one. As a man, as someone who was outstanding, a man that once stood tall and strong who could laugh at the heavens, when it came to a woman, and furthermore it was his beautiful and wonderful Xiao Lingxi, he suddenly couldn't do it. This was something that every man would be frightened and ashamed of in his entire life. No, in both his lives, this had never happened. Even earlier in the year, in his current state of losing all his profound strength, he was still unreservedly enjoying both the little demon empress and Feng Zuer every day. Is it because my profound strength is gone, and I've still been going at it this entire year that I've exhausted all my yang energy? Yun Qi's voice started to tremble. No matter how powerful or mighty a man, as long as he met a situation such as this, he'd definitely be a mess. Quite obviously, Yun Qi wasn't an exception. "Definitely not," Su Linger replied matter-of-factly. "Although you've lost your profound strength, your body is definitely better than any other person. If even I am not able to make sure your body is healthy and well, I'm afraid I'm not worthy to be Master's disciple." But, Yun Qi continued crying out in panic. He himself was beyond proficient in the medical arts, and with Su Linger by his side, they would be more than able to solve any problem with regards to the body, but right now this issue of his, being unable to do it. had truly surfaced. "Let me have a look." Su Linger's jade-like fingers stretched out as she felt Yun Qi's lower abdomen and slowly moved down. As she went lower, her expression started to turn strange. Yun Qi's yang energy didn't become weak at all. Conversely, it was extremely active. It was as if it were going to boil over. Quite obviously, he had definitely been having his way with Xiao Lingxi in an aroused state for quite a while, and then at the very last moment it had stopped abruptly. Su Linger's lips curved. She suddenly held up Yun Qi's hand, pressing against her soft chest. She lifted her beautiful eyes and looked at him seductively as her lips parted to coquettishly say, "Big brother Yun Qi, Linger right now. Wants to?" Just as her voice landed, in an instant, Yun Qi's entire body felt as if it were exploding, like a fireball igniting within him. With one hand, he grabbed her and forcefully pressed his body forward, pinning Su Linger firmly against the wall, but almost immediately, Su Linger gently pushed him away. "Is this called unable to do it? Are you trying to hoodwink me in broad daylight, trying to bully me?" Su Linger's eyes were clear as water, laughing out loud. Right now, Yun Qi had not only had a reaction, he was quite simply on the verge of near self-implosion. The panic in his heart had completely receded, and his confidence grew 1,000,000 meters high, but he couldn't care less. He hurriedly rushed forward, once again pressing down on Su Linger. Su Linger deftly turned away, jumping out of his grasp. She giggled. "Last night probably wasn't enough for you. Go look for your Lingxi." As her coquettish voice landed, she disappeared in a flash, disappearing from Yun Qi's line of sight. The current Yun Qi wouldn't be able to chase after her even if he grew another 5 pairs of legs. Yun Qi grinned and took in a deep breath, thereafter quickly running back to his own courtyard. The door violently bursting opened startled Xiao Lingxi, who was just putting on her undergarments. She gave a startled cry, after which she was pushed violently on the bed by Yun Qi. The undergarments she had just carefully put on were ripped off her. "Little Qi, you, ooh." Just as the words left her mouth, she broke into a whimper. 10 breaths later, Yun Qi once more walked through that courtyard door, his face as dark as the bottom of a wok that had been left on the fire for weeks. Su Linger, who had come to spy on them, saw Yun Qi walk out. She slowly descended from the sky, saw Yun Qi's face, and softly asked, "Big brother Yun Qi, since when were you so quick?" "Ha!" Yun Qi placed his hand on his forehead, breathing out a long sigh. "It wasn't a matter of finishing quick or not. I suddenly couldn't do it again." This time, Su Linger didn't laugh, but was instead in deep thought. She tried to comfort him by explaining, "Linger promises you that there is absolutely no problem with your body, especially where your masculinity is concerned. If this is happening, perhaps it's more of a psychological issue. I believe big brother Yun Qi definitely knows this as well." His body was fine, his physical state was tip-top. Facing Su Linger, he definitely could proceed, but when it came to Xiao Lingxi, he had actually failed twice. The only possibility now was that it was a psychological problem. Being Yun Gu's disciple, Yun Qi naturally had considered this possibility. But the problem was that he definitely felt that he had no such psychological barrier when facing Xiao Lingxi. Originally, he was someone who had even dared to make a move on the little demon empress, a person who could have killed him countless of times with just a single finger. He had even dared push down an existence like Shenzai. And even when he knew after the fact that the supreme ruler of the primal chaos, the dragon monarch himself, was madly in love with her, he could still do the deed with no problems at all. Why did he have this issue then when it came to Xiao Lingxi? If it was really a problem, what did this problem stem from? If there was indeed a psychological issue, shouldn't he be the most clear about whether he had a problem? Looking at Yun Qi's contorted expression, Su Linger offered some words of consolation. "Or perhaps you're this way because I brought up the issue of it being a psychological problem, and so you weren't emotionally prepared the second time around. Add to that you treasure her so much, and thus your mental state is in a bad place. Perhaps you will be fine tomorrow." Yun Qi's face started to look a little better as he nodded. "You should go comfort big sister Xiao Lingxi. The way you are right now, I bet you've given her quite the scare," Su Linger said with a smile. "I think it's better if you do it." Yun Qi pressed his hand against his forehead once more. "I don't know how to face her right now. Do you think Lingxi will look down on me in the future?" Su Linger shook her head. "Of course not. Even if everyone under the sun looks down on you, big sister Lingxi will never look down on you." "Not that. I'm not talking about that kind of look down. It's... Yun Qi placed both his hands on his head. Anyways, I'll go head over to Zuer's place." All right. Su Linger could only reply so. She knew what Yun Qi was really going to do. If he went to look for the little demon empress or Chu Yuechan, he would definitely be slapped and sent flying. Only Feng Zuer would entertain him at this point. In fact, she wouldn't reject him at all, no matter the time or situation. Yun Qi took 2 steps forward, then hurriedly turned around, his face serious and stern. "You are not to breathe a word of this to anyone." "I know," Su Linger said with a laugh. Su Linger pushed the door to his room open. Xiao Lingxi pulled at the corner of a blanket as she sat on the wide bed. She had sunk into a deep despondency. Beside her lay the small clothes that Yun Qi had torn off her and scattered around. Upon seeing Su Linger, her body curled backwards slightly under the blanket, but she gave no other reaction. However, the light in her eyes became increasingly dull and gloomy. "Big Sister Lingxi," Su Linger sat down at the side of the bed. As she looked at Xiao Lingxi, whose jade body was half exposed, a very deep look of astonishment and admiration flashed through her eyes. The curves that Xiao Lingxi exposed to the world were exceedingly perfect, and her skin was as lustrous and flawless as jade porcelain, causing Su Linger to feel an intense urge to reach out and touch it. She believed that if any man faced such a perfect jade body, he would become a wild and mindless beast, much less Yun Qi. Su Linger's words still did not provoke much of a response from Xiao Lingxi. Her delicate head sank even deeper between her knees as she suddenly said in a very soft voice, "Linger, does he only feel familial love towards me?" Su Linger did not ask her why she had asked such a question. Instead, she said without the slightest bit of hesitation, "This is a question that no one has the qualifications to answer. That is because you are the only one who can sense it in the most genuine and direct manner. So you should be more aware than anyone else whether his feelings for you are familial love or the love between a man and a woman." Xiao Lingxi: "The only thing that I know is that every time he looks at you, his gaze is filled with so much warmth and adoration that it seems as if he wishes that he could give you all of the best things in this world." Su Linger's words caused the gloomy dullness in Xiao Lingxi's eyes to gradually be replaced by a misty haziness. She slowly lifted her head as she said, "But why?" Xiao Lingxi was unable to finish her words, but Su Linger knew what she wanted to say. She simply gave a small smile and bent her lips to Xiao Lingxi's ear and softly whispered some words. "Ah," Xiao Lingxi let out a soft cry as her mouth opened wide. "That was the real reason," Su Linger said as she lightly covered her lips. "It's not that big brother Yun Qi does not want you, and it's even less your fault. It's actually something to do with him." But, Xiao Lingxi's face was dyed red, making her look incomparably charming and beautiful. "Do you know why such a thing would happen?" Su Linger explained with a small smile on her face. "Such a thing will only happen to a man's body when he is too nervous. That is also to say, it's not that he doesn't want you. It's simply that he loves and adores you far too much, or perhaps his desire for you is too great. As a result, he was too nervous when the time came. You don't even know how upset he was when he ran out just now. He even said that he didn't have the face to see you anymore, he. Xiao Lingxi was a sheet of white paper when it came to the affairs between men and women. But Su Linger was an expert in the field of medicine, so Xiao Lingxi would not doubt her words in the slightest. As a result, the gloom and despondency in her heart immediately faded as those feelings quickly transformed into shy embarrassment. She pulled up the blanket to cover her face. Her voice was as squeaky as the chirping of birds. "Ooh, I let you see a joke yet again." Upon seeing Xiao Lingxi go back to her usual self, Su Linger let out a small sigh of relief. After that, she pulled open the blanket and dove inside, wildly groping Xiao Lingxi's smooth and lovely jade body. "If you really want to be eaten up by big brother Yun Qi that much, then you need to have a little bit more initiative. Do you want me to teach you how?" Xiao Lingxi let out cries of alarm, but she did not resist or object. Instead, she merely voiced the softest of assents. On the second day, Yun Qi got up early in the morning feeling refreshed and high-spirited. He dragged Xiao Lingxi off to go boating in the illusory demon realm's most beautiful water fairy lake. He even ordered Feng Ziner to not come within 5 kilometers of them. Today, the entire water fairy lake would belong to the two of them alone. The surface of the lake lightly rippled as the small boat slowly meandered across it. Xiao Lingxi remained in Yun Qi's embrace, not leaving it for even a second, in fact. She did not want to leave his embrace for the rest of her life. As the sunset glow filled the sky, the curtain of night swiftly fell. They returned to the Xiao family as Xiao Lingxi was roughly crushed into Yun Qi's embrace. She closed her beautiful eyes. the pink clouds forming on her snowy face exceedingly more charming and beautiful than the sunset clouds in the sky. Xianxia laid her on the soft and downy bed. She allowed him to freely undress her, letting his fingers run freely over her perfect jade body and even her. Before too long, the tightly shut room door was pushed open, and Xianxia walked out by himself. He sat on a boulder in the courtyard, his face so black that it looked like it had been smeared with soot. These 2 days were not an accident or a conclusion, they were a beginning. Initially, he had wondered if it was a problem with the location. After all, the Xiao family was where the both of them had grown up, a place both of them held special feelings for. As a result, he brazenly brought Xiao Lingxi to many other places: the Yun family, the top of a mountain, the shores of a lake, the bedchambers of a royal palace. In the end, they had even gone all the way to frozen cloud Asgard. But no matter how hot and heavy things got, even if the flames of desire were burning so hot that it felt as if his blood vessels were about to rupture, once they got to the very last moment, he would immediately wilt. It was like this every single time. Furthermore, it was only like this with Xiao Lingxi. It definitely had not happened with any of the others. In order to solve this problem, Su Linger had even come up with a very rotten idea. She sneakily drugged Xianxia with an aphrodisiac, and it was a very powerful one at that. With that drug pumping through his veins, even if some sort of mental barrier truly existed, it could be easily ignored. As the aphrodisiac raged through his system, Xianxia's body burned as he immediately became a rabid wild beast. But even after Xianxia had spent half a day tormenting and playing with Xiao Lingxi's body, he just could not react at the final moment. This scene caused Su Linger to become completely flabbergasted. She did not understand what was happening. In the end, she ended up being dragged into it, and her body was tormented and played with so much that she had to walk tenderly for several days. After that, Su Linger came up with another idea that was even more rotten than the last. She and Xiao Lingxi sat on the same bed while facing Xianxia. The result was that when he was with Su Linger, he was so normal that he couldn't stand it. But the moment he turned his attentions to Xiao Lingxi, he instantly wilted. Su Linger was completely out of ideas. This was no longer something that could be explained by medical science. It was truly as if he had been cursed. "Little Qi, it's all right." After the umpteenth failed attempt, Xianxia sat on the side of the bed with a depressed look on his face. Xiao Lingxi gently hugged him from behind as she comforted him once again. "As long as I am able to be with you every day, anything is fine." Xianxia nodded his head before turning around to hug her, but how could it be no big deal? It was a really big deal. What the hell was going on? Is it really because I have some sort of mental barrier towards doing the deed with Xiao Lingxi that I've never noticed? But why did it feel more like I had been put under some strange hex by somebody? As time flowed along, it soon became more than 10 months since Xianxia had died and returned to the blue pole star. In the vast God realm, countless dazzling new stars would be born every year, and even though the fall of a new star would cause people to sigh in regret, even more new stars would appear after that, causing people to swiftly forget. However, the star that had been Xianxia, a star that had come out of nowhere, had been far too dazzling. Even though he had fallen, no one could forget him. After all, he had broken the historical monopoly the upper star realms had held over the conferred God battle, and he had even invoked a 9-stage heavenly tribulation, a feat that was impressive enough to be recorded for all the ages. They were not aware that Xianxia still lived. However, the him that still existed in this world was no longer the star which had previously illuminated the entire world. Instead, he was living an easy and extravagant life every single day, accompanied by his parents and daughter, and surrounded by beauties. If anyone from the God realm saw him at this time, even if they knew that Xianxia was still alive, even if they knew that his name was Xianxia, they definitely would not think that he was the same person as the Xianxia who had climbed to the top of the conferred God battle. Not only did he not have profound strength anymore, he was also completely devoid of the bloodlust, desperate drive, and pride that allowed him to remain standing even when he was driven to the brink of death on top of that conferred God stage. The profound beast rampages in Blue Wind Nation were growing more and more severe, and even the profound beasts in the snow region of extreme ice were making some irregular movements. Outside of Blue Wind Nation, the other nations who were in the eastern part of the continent had also started to experience similar situations. This was also the same in the illusory demon realm. Xianxia would occasionally hear about this news, but he had never once asked about it. The profound sky continent had Feng Zuer, and the illusory demon realm had the little demon empress. Even though the profound beast disturbances were indeed bizarre, they could be easily suppressed. The current him was simply living the life of a licentious and dissipated young master. As such, this was not something he had to worry about. On the other continent on the blue pole star, the Azure Cloud continent. This had been Yun Qi's world in his previous lifetime. After he had found Su Linger and brought her parents, and his master Yun Gu back to the illusory demon realm, he had never again set a foot in that place. But if he visited this continent at this moment, he would definitely be extremely shocked, because this place had already become a world of calamity. ROOO. AHWOO. The wild roars and howls of beasts rang from every direction. Furthermore, the explosions of profound energy and the sound of the earth being destroyed were also ringing out in an incomparably crazed manner in every direction. It was not in one place, neither was it in one region. This scene was something witnessed on the entire continent. Humans and beastkin were the two most prominent races on the Azure Cloud continent. The humans had their own territories, and it was only when profound practitioners needed practical experience that they would enter the territories of the profound beasts. Furthermore, compared to the humans, the profound beasts were even more aware of their territory and its boundaries. As such, they would very rarely venture out of their own territories, and they would always attack and expel the humans who entered their territories. However, this rule, which had existed since time immemorial in the Azure Cloud continent, had since completely collapsed. In all of the regions, all of the nations, no matter whether they used to be mild and peaceful or fierce and violent, all of the profound beasts crazily rushed out of their territories and attacked any living being they set their eyes upon. What was even more terrifying than that was that the powerful profound beasts, which had made nests in the various big forbidden grounds, all previously hidden and powerful existences, had all come out of their nests as well, raining down peerlessly terrifying calamities on human lands. Compared to the small-scale profound beast rampages occurring in the profound sky continent and the illusory demon realm, the Azure Cloud continent had long ago been completely engulfed in calamity. Every day, countless living beings perished beneath the frenzied claws of profound beasts. Every day, countless amounts of territory had been destroyed and turned into ruins. It was just that no one was able to figure out why this calamity had erupted, and no one was able to figure when it would end. On this day, a strange, profound arc appeared in the skies of the Azure Cloud continent. After the profound arc had come to a stop, 4 human figures appeared beneath the profound arc, their eyes simultaneously sweeping across this chaotic continent. This party of 4 was made up of 3 men and 1 woman. The person who led the group looked middle-aged. His expression was calm and cold, and he radiated a profound aura that this world would never be able to fathom. The other 3 people looked youthful. The man on the left was tall and brawny, and his face looked fierce and cruel. The man of the right was the complete opposite. He looked thin and frail, and his face was fair, his elegant and handsome features somewhat feminine, his calm eyes faintly pulsing with a terrifying cold light. The girl in the middle had a lithe and graceful figure. Her face was as pretty as a peach blossom, and she had a seductive appearance. It seemed as if she was extremely confident in her own body as she dressed in a very revealing manner. Her arms and collarbones were exposed, and her 2 long and slender pure white legs were nearly completely revealed. Her roving eyes flashed every now and then with a seductive light that seemed nearly inborn. This little planet looks like it's in a lot of trouble." The coquettish girl looked at the scene below her, her soft and cottony voice filled with pity. "There seems to be something extremely wrong with the profound beasts in this place," the brawny man said in a deep voice. He did not need to use his eyes. With his divine profound strength, he could easily release his divine senses to an extreme distance in this plane which could only be described as lowly. So the abnormally frenzied auras of these profound beasts were as plain as day to him. He lifted his head to look towards the middle-aged man who stood in front of him. "Master, could it be?" "HMPH?" The brows of the middle-aged man who stood at the front tightly knitted together, his gaze growing dark and heavy. "What a heavy devilish aura. We truly weren't mistaken. It looks like we have accomplished a great deed this time." His words caused the 3 young people behind him to faintly tremble as their eyes shone with a strange light. "Realm Master, could it be the evil infant?" the brawny man asked in a low tone. His voice clearly trembled more in fear than excitement when he had said the word evil infant. No, the middle-aged man shook his head while his eyes sparkled strangely. The evil infant is a terrible existence that could kill even a god-emperor. There is no way we would have been able to detect her level of presence even if we had discovered her tracks. Then the devilish energy you speak of is? The middle-aged man replied. The devilish energy is weak, but its level is shockingly high. Although these low-level profound beasts have poor intelligence, their spiritual sense is far stronger than another human at the same level. Therefore, the rampaging profound beasts on this continent must have been affected by this devilish energy. There's almost no chance that this devilish energy would belong to the evil infant, but the King Realms did say that they would reward anyone who found any trace that might lead to her, and what else would fit their description better than a high-level devilish energy? Again, the likelihood of the evil infant being here is very low, but a devil person or devil beast from the unholy northern region must still be hiding here somewhere. And a very powerful one, too. This is a meritorious find all the same. To the people of Eastern Divine Region, neither the evil infant nor a devil person should be allowed to exist. These 4 people had come from lower star realms, and since the King Realms had promised to reward anyone who found a trace that might lead to the evil infant handsomely through the voice of eternal heaven itself. The mere thought of what their finding might bring them excited them so much that they felt like they were in a dream. After the evil infant had emerged from the star god realm, the entire god realm had been shaken to the core. When the news that the evil infant had left 1 god emperor dead and 3 wounded, and many more star gods, moon gods, guardians, and Brahma gods dead in its wake had spread, an unprecedented level of panic and despair quickly swept through the entire Eastern Divine Region, then to the Western and Southern God regions as well. No King Realms in all 3 divine regions had dared not to get involved in the matter after hearing of the evil infant's emergence and its terrifying might. Even the primal chaos supreme himself, the dragon monarch, was personally directing the God Realm's efforts to destroy the evil infant. After that, every King Realm in all 3 divine regions sent out the order for every star realm to search for the evil infant. This was the first time the God Realm had seen such a movement at this scale in its million-year history. But a year had passed by, and they hadn't found even a trace of the evil infant. Finally, the voice of eternal heaven had resounded throughout the Eastern Divine Region half a year ago. The voice had announced that the evil infant would bring forth the destruction of the world, and no one was to leave themselves out of the effort. It then ordered all upper star realms and middle star realms to search through the entire Eastern Divine Region with everything they have, and the lower star realms to search through the lower realms, just in case she was hiding there. The key point in this announcement was this: those who found even a trace would be rewarded handsomely. To the lower and middle star realms, a useless rock in a king realm could be the most precious treasure in the entire world. A handsome reward from the king realms? It was something they did not even dare to imagine in the past. On that day, countless star realms and profound practitioners had boiled up in anticipation and excitement due to the announcement by the voice of eternal heaven. An innumerable amount of profound practitioners started devoting their efforts to searching for the evil infant instead of cultivating as usual. And the lower realms soon became swarmed with countless profound arcs from the lower star realms. In the world of the profound way, there was something called the despised chain that had existed since ancient times. In the God realm, the lower star realms sat at the bottom of this despised chain, but in a plane even lower than theirs, they sat at the top of the despised chain. These 4 profound practitioners had come from a lower star realm called the stellar sun realm, and their main profound art was based on fire. The man in the lead was named Ling Jie. He was the elder of a realm king sect who had just risen to his position last year after he had successfully broken through to the divine spirit realm. In the stellar sun realm, he was a powerhouse who could do anything he wanted without opposition, and it wouldn't be an exaggeration to say that he was having the time of his life. The 3 youngsters behind him were his direct disciples. The feminine-looking man was called Lin Qingyu, the brawny man was called Lin Qingshan. They had become 100 years old just recently, but their cultivation was at divine soul realm already. They were both upper-level profound practitioners in their sect. The girl's name was Lin Qingru, and she was a new disciple Ling Jie had taken in 5 years ago. She was already at the 5th level of the divine origin realm, even though she was just in her 50s. She was probably the most satisfactory female disciple he had ever taken in his life. Their star realm was situated at the far east of Eastern Divine Region, and Ling Jie had taken his 3 disciples even further to the east before descending down to the lower realms. Of course, his main purpose was to accumulate experience for his disciples. Frankly speaking, he knew full well that the chance that they might become the ones to find the evil infant's trace was extremely low. But they couldn't help but delude themselves in their imaginations about it all the same. Blue Pole Star was a tiny, almost auraless planet with a body that was made up of 90% water. At first, the interest of setting foot on such a planet hadn't even crossed their minds, until they got closer, and Ling Jie suddenly sensed the faint presence of devilish energy. That was how they had come to this planet. Should we send a sound transmission back to the sect immediately, Master? Lin Qingshan could hardly control his excitement. This place is quite far away from Stellar Sun Realm. How are we supposed to do that? Lin Jie replied in a stiff tone while staring forward. In that case, Lin Qingshan thought for a moment before continuing, what if I get on another profound arc and rush back to the sect? It is vital that we inform the sect immediately regarding something this critical. Lin Jie narrowed his eyes once. Hee. It was at this moment Lin Qingyu stepped forward and smiled faintly. Calm down, junior brother Qingshan. Master is the one who discovered this devilish energy, so he should be the one to decide our next course of action. Don't you think? Lin Qingru also let out a chuckle before eyeing him sweetly. Well said, senior brother Qingyu. Master should be the one to make the call. Lin Qingshan finally realized what was going on, and he hurriedly said, you're right, this disciple was too reckless. Everything should go as the master wishes. Lin Jie turned around and shot them a complimentary glance before smiling. We, master and disciple, are the ones who have discovered this place. Now, who do you think the merit of this discovery will go to if we were to inform our sect master about this? All 3 disciples shut up at once. We shall inform Eternal Heaven's enforcers ourselves once we're done evaluating this place. Eternal Heaven God Realm has never been one to give any empty promises, and there is surely a devil person or 2 in this place, even if the evil infant herself isn't here. Judging by the shocking amount of devil energy we've seen, there is no reason the King Realms would withhold our rewards, and they will surely take us to greater heights. But if the sect master were to learn about this, Lin Qingshan treaded carefully. Heh. Lin Jie turned back to face the source of the devilish energy while smiling. This is Eternal Heaven's enforcers we're talking about. They will never reveal the source of their information to another party. Also, who cares if our sect master were to find out about our transgression? A gift from the King Realms, who cares about Stellar Sun Realm if we can have that? Master is truly wise, Lin Qingyu said loudly. The devilish energy is originating from that place. He raised his arm and pointed towards Cloud's End Cliff, a place bordering the country of Supwake on Azure Cloud Continent. Although they were quite far away from Source, their eyesight was good enough to spot an unnaturally black abyss at the horizon. Should we go visit Eternal Heaven's enforcers now, Master? Lin Qingru asked. No, Lin Jie said. We should scout out the place first. What? Lin Jien's words caused his disciples' expressions to change in an instant. Even the feminine-looking, smiling Lin Qingyu had allowed a trace of panic to peek through his features. What's wrong? Are you scared? Lin Jie shot them an indifferent glance. Master, Lin Qingru started with watery eyes and a pitiful-looking face. What if it really is the evil infant? Even if it wasn't, we would still be in great danger if that devil person were to notice us. Lin Jie did say that it was almost impossible for the evil infant to be the source of the devilish energy, but what if they were lucky enough to hit the jackpot? After all, the evil infant was a terrifying existence that could kill someone as powerful as the Moon God Emperor. Killing them would probably take as much effort as stepping on a few ants. How do you catch the tiger cub without entering the tiger's lair? Lin Jie looked into the distance arrogantly. Also, have you all forgotten that I'm a divine spirit realm profound practitioner? What do I have to fear from a mere devil person? You are right, Master. Your cultivation rivals the heaven itself, and you're only a level away from becoming a great realm king. Naturally, there is nothing to be afraid of, Ling Qingyu replied. It was obvious that the smile on his face was a bit forced, however. Lin Jie shot them a glance before saying, Relax, I'm only saying this because I sense no danger for now. If the danger does become apparent, I will take you all away to safety as soon as possible. Qingyu, Qingshan, both of you will be coming with me. Lin Jien's body became surrounded by profound energy. Qingru, there seems to be another continent about 500,000 kilometers to the west. Scout that continent and send a sound transmission immediately if you sense anything. Lin Qingru let out a long sigh of relief like she had just been pardoned from a great crime. She immediately bowed and said sweetly, "Yes, Qingru obeys the master's command." Lin Jun started moving slowly towards Cloud End Cliff with Lin Qingshan and Lin Qingyu, while Lin Qingru leaped into the air and flew straight towards the west. That was where the profound sky continent lay. Profound sky continent, frozen cloud Asgard. Xianxia sat in the snow as he took in the beautiful scenery around him quietly. Since Feng Zioner was by his side at all times, the cold didn't worry him in the slightest. He often visited frozen cloud Asgard because this was a place of great significance to him. Every once in a while, he would sit at the center of the snow region of extreme ice and watch the endless snow in front of him in silence. Every session lasted about 2 to 4 hours, and he wouldn't move or speak a word throughout the whole thing. No one knew what he was thinking about during this time, and he had never told anyone his thoughts. Speaking of Feng Zioner, the girl hadn't once broken her promise to the Phoenix spirit during her stay. She had never left Xianxia's side, be it day or night. A long time later, Xianxia finally moved and looked up at the pale white sky. These days, his time in the God realm was growing more and more distant like a dream. However, the names of the geniuses and God children who had participated in the God-conferred battle had remained etched in his mind. Looking at the time, it was more than 2.5 years since they had entered the eternal Heaven-Divine realm. They should be returning to the world soon in just a few months. Once upon a time, they were all on the same level and the same stage. Today, he had become a cripple, and they were 3,000 years ahead of him in his best form. Hu Poyun, considering your talent and your pure pursuit of the profound way, I'm certain that you will become a divine master in 3,000 years and bring eternal glory to the flame God realm. Luo Changsheng, setting his temperament aside, his talents were shockingly scary. As the youngest divine king in the history of Eastern divine region, his anger, hatred, and competitive spirit would surely drive him to surpass all other profound practitioners after he had left the eternal Heaven-Divine realm. Unfortunately for Luo Changsheng, he wouldn't be able to take revenge after he had returned from eternal Heaven-Divine realm. After all, Xianxia was dead to the God realm. Junzile, she was the Sword Sovereign's disciple, and she was a prideful person right down to the bone. She would surely seek him out and recount old debts first thing after she had left eternal Heaven-Divine realm, wouldn't she? But unfortunately for her, he wondered if she would feel relieved or disturbed when she heard of his death. Or maybe the slight no longer mattered to her in the least after spending 3,000 years cultivating her mind. Shui Meiyin. The words that she said as a 15-year-old girl would probably sound like a joke to her now, after 3,000 years in eternal Heaven-Divine realm. Or maybe the joke would even fade away from her mind completely. "Daddy!" A girl's cry filled with joy and excitement suddenly cut through the air. Xianxia swiftly turned around, stretched out, and caught a falling Yun Wuxin squarely in his arms. "What are you so happy about today, Zinner?" Xianxia smiled while staring at his daughter's reddened cheeks. "He. Yun Wuxin's eyes curled like crescents before she declared happily, "I've achieved a breakthrough." "A breakthrough?" Xianxia looked pleasantly surprised. "Really?" "Of course it's real." Yun Wuxin stretched her arms outward and took in the world, noting that everything felt different after she had achieved a breakthrough. "I'm an overlord now. Master wouldn't stop praising me just now." "Hiss!" Xianxia was so excited that he drew in a sharp breath. Then he gave Yun Wuxin a loud kiss on the cheek before screaming even more exaggeratedly than Wuxin did earlier. "This is wonderful, as expected of my daughter, ha 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 ha. A 12-year-old overlord. She had to be profound sky continents. No, Blue Pole Star's youngest overlord in history. When he thought back to the time he was 12 years old, well, best not to think about it. Overlord, it was someone who could shame any profound way master to their deaths just by being around. When Xianxia had become an overlord himself a few years ago, he had felt only peace and calm. But this time it was Yun Wuxin who had achieved the breakthrough, and to say his excitement was through the roof was a massive understatement. Still carrying his daughter on his shoulders, Xianxia started screaming without a care and running circles across the snow at least a dozen times before he had become dizzy from his own exertions. If Feng Zioner hadn't caught him with her profound energy in a hurry, he would have fallen head first into the snow. A red figure appeared on the sky, and Feng Zuer dropped down to the snow and smiled at the father and daughter. She said, "Big brother Yun, Zinner hasn't just achieved a breakthrough in cultivation, you know. She has cultivated the world ode of the Phoenix to completion as well." Feng Zuer's words utterly stunned Yun Qi. He could barely believe what he was hearing. Although her profound strength level is preventing her from unleashing the World Illuminator Red Lotus and the God Manifestation Art, Phoenix's Descent, she has mastered the two Phoenix Flame ultimate techniques before me. She will be able to unleash either of these techniques once she has sufficient profound strength. He, Yun Wuxin giggled happily. Master said that I'm absolutely amazing. Now it's your turn to praise me too, Daddy. But Yun Qi's mind remained blank until some time later. Yun Wuxin had no idea what she had done by cultivating the World Ode of the Phoenix to completion and mastering both World Illuminator Red Lotus and Phoenix's Descent in just over a year's time. Forget impressive. This was an achievement that would have shocked the whole world. Not even Yan Zhuhai, the Phoenix sect master of flame god realm, had managed to cultivate the World Illuminator Red Lotus despite being over 10,000 years old. Yun Qi was the only one in the world who had truly cultivated both techniques before Yun Wuxin showed up. Now that he was just a cripple, Yun Wuxin was undoubtedly the only person in the entire world who had mastered the World Illuminator Red Lotus. Not even Feng Zuer had been able to master it yet. If Yan Zhuhai was here, he would probably need more than 2 knees to kowtow to Feng Zuer bloodline purity or Yun Wuxin's cultivation speed properly. In terms of Phoenix bloodline purity, Yun Qi was far inferior to Feng Zuer, so it was only natural that Yun Wuxin was even further behind since her bloodline had been inherited from Yun Qi. But the fact that she was able to master the World Ode of the Phoenix completely could only mean that she had inherited the evil god divine aura from him. When his shock had finally passed, an incredibly happy smile appeared on Yun Qi's face. He might have become a cripple, but he was impossibly satisfied and happy to have left his daughter such an amazing amount of talent all the same. In fact, it was an indescribable happiness that couldn't be replaced by anything that existed in the world. It was a kind of pride and happiness that only a father could have. "Zinner, you are father's greatest pride of his entire life," he said to his daughter from the bottom of his heart. Yun Wuxin's smile grew even brighter when she heard her father's praise. "In that case, how are you going to reward me?" What reward do you want?" Yun Wuxin had clearly thought up her answer before because she immediately cried, "I want Daddy to fish with me at the sea." "Amen. Hadn't I promised you this for your 13th birthday?" Yun Qi stared at her while smiling. "I don't care, I want it now." Yun Wuxin shook his neck once. Fine, Yun Qi laughed loudly. "Today is your day, so you may get anything you wish for. Let's go right now." "Ziner, please help me grab that fishing tool I just completed a while ago, and right. Please also cancel my meeting with the Su family and old man Zai Jai later this evening. Zinner and I are going to be participating in a fair fishing competition today." As Feng Zuer watched the father and daughter who were clinging to each other as naturally as sugar and cakes with a smile, the desire to have a child suddenly dawned inside her heart. Azure Cloud Continent, Cloud's End Cliff. Lin Jun, Lin Qingshan, and Lin Qingyu were all frowning at the edge of Cloud's End Cliff. It was the middle of the afternoon, but the abyss beneath their feet was unnaturally pitch black. Despite being at Divine Soul Realm, neither Lin Qingshan nor Lin Qingyu were able to see or perceive anything beyond 300 meters into the veil. The only thing they could feel was a chill that clung to their entire body. Lin Jun's eyebrows sank deeply. The devilish energy was still very weak even though they had traveled almost 500 kilometers closer to the origin. But for some reason it didn't make him feel secure at all. On the contrary, he had a very bad premonition about this whole thing. "Master, are we sure that the devilish energy is coming from this place? Why wasn't I able to detect anything?" Lin Qingshan asked. "The level of this devilish energy is much higher than you can possibly imagine. Of course you weren't able to sense it," Lin Jun replied in a low tone. Lin Qingshan abruptly turned around to look at him in disbelief. He was a divine way profound practitioner from the God realm, and he was even a genius among the younger generation of the stellar star realm. How could this lowly lower realm planet possibly possess anything that was far greater than the plane he was in? Of course, he dared not disbelieve his own master. What his master was saying was that the thing that was hiding under this abyss, be it devil person, devil spirit, or devil beast, could easily destroy him. HMPH? Lin Jun humphed softly before continuing. "Still, its aura is incredibly weak despite its level. It's entirely possible that it has suffered a terrible injury and is on its last legs. If we can kill this thing or capture it alive, then our merit will be twice as big. Come on, let's head down and take a look." Lin Jie jumped down and started falling swiftly into Cloud's End abyss. Lin Qingyu and Lin Qingshan exchanged a glance with each other before forcing themselves to follow. When they dropped down Cloud's End abyss, the world in front of them suddenly turned completely pitch black. When they looked up, they were shocked to discover that no ray of light was able to make it through the veil either. It was a scene that literally transcended everything Lin Qingshan and Lin Qingyu knew, and the fact that they were right in the middle of everything made their hearts beat wildly. Lin Jie didn't change his mind despite the unusual phenomenon, however, although he wasn't moving quickly either. The darkness and the whistle of the wind beside their ears continued until they were several thousand meters deep or more. Finally, Lin Qingshan and Lin Qingyu sensed something and blurted out at the same time, "Darkness devil energy." It was at this moment that Lin Jie suddenly came to a stop. He had also unleashed 2 gusts of profound energy and stopped his disciples dead in their tracks. "Master!" Lin Jie didn't answer his disciples' call. He froze as if some invisible energy had frozen him solid, and the only body part that was capable of movement was his contracting pupils and standing hair. The reason behind his unusual reaction was because he had sensed a strange isolation barrier vaguely ahead of them. Behind that barrier was a small, independent world. He could also sense that the world was incredibly high level, and that the unusually weak devilish energy was leaking from it. It wasn't a devil person on their last legs at all. If this bit of devilish energy was this scary already, then the terrible dark world sitting beneath the abyss could only be far, far worse. It was at a level that even he, an elder of a realm king sect, dared not imagine. "Leave, we need to leave now," he said in a low tone before grabbing his 2 disciples physically with his arms. He was just about to speed back up to the surface when he forced himself to calm down and even withdraw his aura as best he could. Finally, he carried his 2 disciples back to the surface very, very slowly. He didn't want to risk disturbing the dark world beneath them if at all possible. Lin Jie's terrifying tone caused both his disciples to shut up immediately. They also withdrew their auras just like their master. The wind started whistling once more, and after a long ascent, the darkness finally parted to reveal the light. After having a treat to absolute darkness, the light was too much for either Lin Qingshan and Lin Qingyu to bear. They closed their eyes, opened them, and noticed that they were standing on Cloud's End cliff once more. The 2 disciples were just about to say something when they noticed that their master, Lin Jie, was completely drenched in cold sweat at the same time. "Master," Lin Qingyu asked, "could it be that that devil person is someone not even you can defeat?" "Heh, heh, heh." Lin Jie was sweating even now, but he was also laughing under his breath before he turned around with an odd expression on his face. He said slowly, "Heaven itself must be looking after us, heh heh, ha 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 ha." His sudden burst of laughter made his disciples exchange a confused glance with each other. Then Lin Jie revealed the truth with barely suppressed excitement. "There is no devil person down there. Oh no, it is a hidden dark devil domain." "Dark devil domain?" The 3 words held enough weight to catch anyone by surprise. This small world of darkness possesses an extremely high-level energy, and it might even be the equal of a lower star realm, or even a middle star realm in the northern divine region. No, considering how unbelievable the energy that is leaking from that world is, it might be even higher than that. Lin Jie's excitement grew the more they talked. Who knew that such a little lower realm planet would be hiding an independent devil domain? In fact, this devil domain alone might be bigger than this entire planet. His 2 disciples' shock grew with every word. An independent world of darkness that was comparable to a lower star realm, or even a middle star realm in the northern divine region. How was that possible? This independent devil domain has probably existed for a very long time already. Maybe a race from the northern divine region migrated over in secret. Or maybe it was a base the northern divine region had set up to test the eastern divine region. This pitch-black abyss itself is the entrance to the devil domain, and an isolation barrier has been placed around it to keep any devilish energy from leaking. Perhaps the reason the profound beasts on this continent have gone rampant is because the barrier has gotten weaker as of late, causing some devilish energy to leak out of its borders. At this point, Lin Qingshan and Lin Qingyu's shock was being replaced by growing excitement. Obviously, the discovery of a devil person and the discovery of a hidden devil domain were on 2 entirely different levels. The former was a merit, but the latter was a merit as big as heaven itself. To the denizens of the eastern, western, and southern divine regions, Darkness profound energy was an evil energy that shouldn't exist in the world. Murder was the one and only way to deal with darkness profound energy. That was why the Northern Divine Region was a special place among all 4 divine regions. Not only was it shunned by the 3 divine regions completely, it was even called a devil domain. The Northern Divine Region had been shrinking bit by bit because the darkness energy in the primal chaos was growing thinner and thinner. It was only a matter of time before it perished on its own. 3 years ago during the conferred god battle, Wei Hen had suddenly employed darkness profound energy on the conferred god stage and took Ling Jie down with him. Not only had he shamed the eternal heaven god realm deeply, he had ignited the fury of every profound practitioner in the Eastern Divine Region as well. At the time, the order to annihilate all devil persons in the Eastern Divine Region had been sent using the voice of Eternal Heaven immediately. If they were to inform Eternal Heaven's enforcers about the existence of this devil domain, they couldn't even imagine how the Eternal Heaven God realm would reward them. "Master, should we call back Junior Sister Kingru immediately?" Lin Qingshan asked. "No need to hurry." Lin Jun stroked his short beard with a sharp glint behind his eyes. "We're all on the same planet, and she's on another continent right now. Who knows, she may have had her own findings. Anyway, we should search through this continent thoroughly before she returns. Hehe, from here on, all our fates will never be the same." Revision, P.S. God Emperor is the title of a king realm's realm king, not an independent realm of the profound way. All God Emperors are at the peak of the Divine Master Realm level 10, Ancient True God Realms. Divine Extinction Realm, Half God. Right Arrow True God, Right Arrow Creation God, Right Arrow Ancestral God.